Chapter 2247. The fourth round of ranking battles had ended. There were still 7 people left and the final ranking had yet to be determined. First, Feng Yin. Second, Yu Feng. Third, Qi Hong Countess. Fourth, Xie Yun. Fifth, Lu Ping. Sixth, Su Zimo. Seventh, Pang Xian. The fifth round of ranking battles began. Feng Yin still had a bye and there were only 3 limestone battlefields left in the air. Yu Feng, who was ranked second from the Mountain and Sea Immortal sect, versus Pang Xian, who was ranked 7th from the Pang family. Qi Hong Countess versus Su Zimo. Xie Yun versus Lu Ping. After these 3 battles, the final 4 people would be selected. Seeing the order of the battles, many cultivators vaguely guessed that Qi Hong Countess and Su Zimo would most likely not fight in the 3rd battle. As expected, Qi Hong Countess directly announced her withdrawal from the battle and Su Zimo naturally advanced. It was equivalent to a bye and he had some rare rest time. As for the other 2 battles, Yu Feng and Pang Xian's battle was the most predictable. Normally speaking, Pang Xian would not be able to enter the top 10 of the Earth Roll because of the deaths of Immortal Tai Hua, Han the Iron, and Qing Chenzi. In terms of combat strength, he was obviously weaker than Yu Feng. The prediction of the Earth Roll had an extremely high evaluation of Yu Feng. It was said that if not for the 2 reincarnated immortals, he would be the first person on the Earth Roll. If nothing went wrong, Su Zimo's opponent in the 6th round would be him. Su Zimo recuperated while observing Yu Feng's methods. Among the 4 major immortal sects, the Mountain and Sea Immortal sect was best at tempering the body and cultivating qi. Legend had it that the foundation of the Mountain and Sea Immortal sect was the Mountain and Sea Scripture, which was divided into 2 sections. The Mountain section tempered the body while the Sea section tempered the bloodline. These 2 sections were supreme cultivation techniques that were second only to the legendary forbidden mystic manuals. Yu Feng had clearly obtained the true teachings of the Mountain and Sea Immortal sect and his close combat strength was strong. Pang Xian, who was opposite him, was no match for him at all. As soon as the 2 of them exchanged blows, Pang Xian was completely suppressed and retreated. It was only a matter of time before he was defeated. The techniques of the Mountain and Sea Immortal sect, regardless of whether they were close combat techniques, immortal magics, or secret magics, were all open and unrestrained. Yu Feng's every move was filled with extraordinary energy and was filled with majestic mountains as well as surging seas. On the other side of the battlefield, Xie Yun and Lu Ping were also fighting back and forth. They were in a stalemate. As the number 1 earthly immortal of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom, Xie Yun had once defeated the Scarlet Rainbow Countess. Lu Ping relied on not only the immortal spells and secret skills of Qianquan Academy, but also many strange techniques that he inherited from Giant Willow. This gave Xie Yun a headache. Over the years, Giant Willow's body had devoured the flesh and blood essence of countless Earth immortals and was extremely powerful. It even wanted to compete with Qinglian's real body. Xie Yun could not gain the slightest bit of advantage in close combat at all. On the other hand, in terms of immortal techniques and secret techniques, Xie Yun gradually fell into a disadvantage, and he couldn't compare to the numerous inheritances in Lu Ping's memories. More importantly, after Lu Ping's essence spirit fused with the gigantic Willow essence spirit, his essence spirit realm had reached the Heaven Immortal realm. Just the constant consumption of energy was enough to make Xie Yun unable to withstand it. Not long after, the 5th round of ranking battles ended. Yu Feng, Su Zimo, and Lu Ping won. Currently, the top 4 of the Earth Roll were Feng Yin, Yu Feng, Su Zimo, and Lu Ping. Among them, there were 2 Earth Immortals from Qianquan Academy. In the 6th round of ranking battles, Feng Yin would go against Lu Ping, while Yu Feng would go against Su Zimo. Many cultivators became extremely excited and were filled with anticipation. Everyone knew that the 6th round of ranking battles would definitely be a rare battle between 2 Earth Immortals. Feng Yin would go against Lu Ping. As a disciple of Qianquan Academy, Lu Ping had once been saved by Su Zimo and was given a great opportunity that could change his fate. He would definitely do his best to deal with Feng Yin and try his best to exhaust Feng Yin's techniques and strength. As the #1 Earth Immortal of the Mountain and Sea Immortal sect, Yufeng would definitely not surrender without a fight against Su Zimo. In the 2 battles in the 6th round, the 4 of them would go all out. I really didn't expect that I, Lu Ping, would be able to reach this stage. It's like a dream. Lu Ping clasped his hands behind his back as a tinge of emotion flashed across his tender face. Although he looked like a child, he acted like an old man, and it was a little strange that others could not help but laugh. Everyone from Qiankuan Academy chuckled. Princess Qi Hong teased Lu Ping, "Junior brother Lu, if you win against Feng Yin, I'll give you candy when we return to the academy." Lu Ping flicked his sleeves and pursed his lips. He turned to look at Su Zimo and said, "Junior brother Su, don't worry. I'll do my best to let Feng Yin experience the capabilities of Qiankuan Academy. There's no need to force yourself. If you see that things aren't going well, choose to admit defeat and leave the green stone battlefield." Su Zimo instructed. "What if I win?" Lu Ping raised his face and said proudly, "Junior brother Su, you might end up facing me in the final battle." Su Zimo smiled gently and felt a warmth in his heart. He knew that Lu Ping wanted to go all out in the battle because he wanted to exhaust Feng Yin's techniques as much as possible. By the time the final battle came, he would have more chances of winning. Under Xieling's command, the 4 of them stepped onto the battlefield one after another. "Fellow Taoist Su, this battle is unfair. However, I represent the Mountain Sea Immortal sect and have no other choice." Yufeng cupped his fists and said in a deep voice. Su Zimo's expression was calm as he nodded slightly. "I was just about to seek guidance from the Mountain Sea Immortal sect. Please." Mountain moving technique. Yufeng channeled his essence spirit and conjured hand seals with both hands, condensing the power of his divine powers before pointing at Su Zimo. A huge shadow shrouded over and covered the skies. A majestic mountain arrived with a loud bang, and countless rocks and dust rolled down, suppressing Su Zimo with a terrifying might. Om. Su Zimo chanted 6 Sanskrit words in succession. At the same time, he conjured 6 different hand seals with both hands and eventually formed a dermic seal that was as immovable as a mountain. Behind him, a tall and majestic shadow seemed to appear. It emitted endless light and was incomparably sacred. Demon Vanquishing Seal, Demon Subduing Seal, Immortal Trap Seal, Foundation Immovable Seal, Great Vajrawheel Seal, Great Meru Mountain Seal. The 6 seals were activated at the same time, forming a great divine power, Akalanatha's Seal. Boom! The mountain smashed onto the Akalanatha's body with a loud bang. The tall shadow did not move at all, as if its feet were rooted to the ground. The entire mountain smashed onto it, causing cracks to appear and the mountain to crumble continuously. Yufeng did not give Su Zimo any time to breathe. He clasped his hands together and the second great divine power followed closely behind. Mountain Splitting Axe. Yufeng let out a soft cry, and an endless stream of divine power condensed into a gigantic divine axe in the void. Yufeng slashed down with both hands. Boom! The giant axe fell from the sky and landed heavily on the Akalanatha's body. This time, the Akalanatha swayed slightly and his figure dimmed. Cracks appeared on his body and he was about to collapse at any time. Chapter 2248. I can't continue like this. A thought flashed through Su Zimo's mind. He had just recovered more than 30% of the power of his essence spirit. If he continued to fight with divine powers and secret skills like Yufeng, he could still win. However, the consumption of the power of his essence spirit would be too great and he would definitely be a huge threat if he encountered Feng Yin later on. In a flash, Su Zimo sped towards Yufeng. When Yufeng saw Su Zimo approaching, he chose to avoid the battle and retreated rapidly, circling around the edge of the limestone battlefield to maintain his distance. Yufeng's plan was simple as well. He knew Su Zimo's weakness. As long as he continued to exhaust the power of Su Zimo's essence spirit with divine powers and secret skills, he would gain the upper hand. At that time, be it melee combat or long-distance attacks, he would have absolute confidence of winning. See calming. Su Zimo's eyes shone brightly as he straightened his palm like a saber and slashed in Yu Feng's direction. That was the sea-calming stance of the Saber Emperor's inheritance. At its peak, that saber technique could be comprehended and conjure the power of spatial shackles. Break it! Yu Feng did not dare to be careless and hurriedly released his secret skill. A series of earth-shattering sounds echoed from his body as he broke through the power of sea calming. After Su Zimo slashed out with sea calming, his hand gesture changed and he condensed his essence chi, writing a gigantic cage word in midair. It was the great divine power, cage. Su Zimo knew that the sea calming stance alone was not enough to trap Yu Feng. Therefore, after releasing the sea calming strike, he followed it up with a second great divine power, the imprisoned character art. A powerful divine power appeared out of thin air on Yu Feng's body, imprisoning him. Swoosh! Without hesitation, Yu Feng channeled his blood chi to its limits and the sound of tsunamis echoed from his body, striking the divine power around him. With that slight delay, Su Zimo had already closed in and Yu Feng could not dodge. "All right," Yu Feng hollered, "let me see how strong you are in melee combat." Whoosh! Yu Feng's blood and chi crazily revolved within his body, rising to another level. Behind him, the phantom of a giant mountain peak suddenly appeared. It towered into the clouds, as if it was the center of the world. Under the shadow of this mountain, Su Zimo even felt infinitely small. Not just him, even the many celestial immortals, true immortals, Xieling, and even the enormous flaming sun palace seemed to be shrinking under the shadow of the mountain. Yu Feng did not hold back and directly summoned his bloodline phenomenon. As for the bloodline phenomenon, it was extremely frightening as well. Even though it was just an illusory figure, it emitted such a powerful aura that looked down on all living beings. At the same time, Yu Feng threw a punch at Su Zimo. Coupled with the rise of the bloodline phenomenon, that punch brought forth an unshakable will and indestructible strength. This punch was as majestic as the mountains and as turbulent as the ocean. A strange feeling arose in Yu Feng's heart as he punched out. Under Su Zimo's pressure, he unleashed the strongest and most perfect punch he had ever unleashed since he started cultivating. He felt extremely satisfied. His essence, chi, and spirit had risen to another level. Su Zimo did not retreat either as his eyes shone brightly. Qinglian's true body had already recovered and her physical strength had recovered to this extent. She raised her hand and punched towards Yu Feng's fist. Bang! Their fists collided and the giant blue stone beneath their feet trembled. At the center of the collision, a huge shockwave burst forth and spread in all directions. The long hair of countless cultivators in the spectator stands swayed slightly. Their fists collided and neither of them took half a step back. Su Zimo's eyes revealed a hint of admiration. Although he had his reservations and did not use his blood and chi, in close combat, there were not many who could withstand a full blow from the 10th grade Qinglian's true body. On the other side, Yu Feng's expression was aghast. That punch was already at his peak and was unimaginably unleashed. Even if he did it again, he might not be able to unleash such peak power. However, in the end, he did not manage to push Su Zimo back, not even by half a step. How did this person cultivate his physical body? Yu Feng was shocked. However, Su Zimo did not give him any time to think. He strode forward and bent his knees slightly, as though his legs were crawling on the ground. Boom! Instantly, Su Zimo's feet landed on the ground and his aura rose abruptly, as though he wanted to trample the phantom mountain behind Yu Feng beneath his feet and even plow 2 ravines. He clenched his fists and his knuckles protruded slightly. Leaning forward, he raised his arms and punched towards Yu Feng's chest. Yu Feng's pupils constricted. Pissed. Gasps could be heard from both sides of the spectator stands and many cultivators' expressions changed. In everyone's eyes, Su Zimo's figure seemed to have disappeared from the blue stone battlefield. In his place was a gigantic, unparalleled bull demon with a torrential, ferocious aura. It raised a pair of sharp horns and stabbed towards Yu Feng. This pair of bull horns seemed to be able to pierce through all things, even piercing a hole in the sky. Even the bystanders could feel a tragic aura. Yu Feng, who was on the battlefield, felt even more pressure. He stretched out his hand and tightly grasped the pair of bull horns that were coming at him. However, the bull demon's charge was way too ferocious. Although he dissipated most of the power, the horns still struck his chest. Ugh! Yu Feng grunted and hurriedly channeled his sect's secret skill. His skin, flesh, and blood became as hard as a mountain rock. When the pair of bull horns collided with his chest, the sound of metal clashing rang out, and sparks flew in all directions. Although Yu Feng blocked the attack, his chest hurt and he staggered back half a step. All of a sudden, Su Zimo's figure vanished once more. Yu Feng's heart skipped a beat. Suddenly, he felt a cold breeze beneath him and knew that things were bad. Lowering his body, Su Zimo stuck close to the ground and darted forward, appearing behind Yu Feng in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, Su Zimo's figure turned soft and boneless as it coiled around Yu Feng's body. In the eyes of many cultivators, Su Zimo could no longer be seen. They could only see a gigantic anaconda coiling around the phantom mountain on the bluestone battlefield. The python's body continued to expand, and the mountain's illusory figure continued to squash the demon emperor, causing a series of crackling sounds to be heard. Yu Feng felt suffocated and his bones felt like they were about to fall apart. That suffocating feeling did not only come from his body, even his consciousness and essence spirit felt an unimaginable pressure, as though he could die on the battlefield at any moment. The anaconda reared its head and roared into the skies. Using its gigantic mouth, it spat out endless essence chi and the essence of the sun and moon. Its body expanded and its head bulged, as though it was about to turn into a dragon. Rumble! Finally, the phantom mountain could not hold on any longer. Yu Feng's essence spirit escaped from his consciousness as well. Chapter 2249. No one expected Yu Feng to be defeated so quickly in the 6th round of the battle. In the beginning, the two of them fought with their own divine abilities, and there was a back and forth between them. It was hard to tell who was the better one. However, after Su Zimo got close to Yu Feng could no longer withstand it and was almost killed by Su Zimo on the spot. It seems that the 18 Earth Immortals of Immortal Tai Hua didn't die in vain. Some cultivators who participated in the Earth Roll elimination competition didn't have the chance to see the shocking battle in front of the Earth Roll stone tablet. Now that they saw the battle, they sighed. It's more than just a pity. You didn't see it with your own eyes. In that battle, Su Zimo's counterattack was even more ferocious than just now. I just didn't expect that the Mountain and Sea Immortal Sect's #1 body-tempering cultivator, Yu Feng, would be defeated so quickly after obtaining the true legacy of the Mountain and Sea scripture. Tian Yuan, who was #1 on the heaven roll back then, was expressionless and didn't say a word. Under normal circumstances, Yu Feng's strength and defense wouldn't lose to Su Zimo in close combat. However, Su Zimo's close combat techniques were really strange. He actually wrapped around Yu Feng like a python and directly locked Yu Feng, making him unable to resist at all. Senior brother, I lost. Yu Feng returned to the Mountain and Sea Immortal Sect's banquet and lowered his head slightly with a guilty expression. You lost because of your close combat techniques. He caught you off guard. Tian Yuan said, this is the Earth Roll ranking battle. You had a chance to escape. If it was a life and death battle, you would already be a dead man. Senior brother, you're right. Yu Feng didn't dare to retort. On the other side of the battlefield. From the moment Feng Yin and Lu Ping fought, Feng Yin had always had the upper hand. With the help of the Imperial Wind Temple's top-notch movement technique, Wind Following Shadow, he controlled the situation and constantly attacked, forming a suppressive situation. Although Lu Ping had the inheritance of Qianquan Academy and Gigantic Willow, many of his techniques would often fail and he couldn't even touch the corner of Feng Yin's clothes. Seeing that Su Zimo had already ended the battle, Feng Yin's attacks became even more ferocious. Lu Ping gradually couldn't hold on and he was struggling to resist. Actually, whether it was in the primordial spirit realm or in terms of physical strength, the difference between the two of them was not too great. However, reincarnated immortals were most powerful in their combat techniques and combat experience. In this aspect, Feng Yin had almost crushed Lu Ping. In a sense, Lu Ping was facing a true immortal who possessed the strength of an earth immortal. As for Lu Ping, he had just fused with his essence soul and inherited the body of the gigantic willow. Although his strength had skyrocketed and he had more means, he was not completely familiar with this body. There were many techniques that he could release with the help of the giant willow's memories. However, without his own comprehension and understanding, he could not unleash their full power. Under such circumstances, Lu Ping was almost powerless to resist. In fact, the battle between Su Zimo and Immortal Tai Hua in the ninth heaven would have lasted for a long time if it had been a normal battle. Su Zimo released 36 blades of time in one breath, forcing Immortal Tai Hua into a corner, resulting in a battle of attrition between the two sides. The reincarnated Immortal Tai Hua's advantage was gone. He could not use any combat skills or combat experience. In the end, he died on the spot. Lu Ping obviously couldn't do that. Lu Ping's movements were slightly slower and a wound appeared on his arm that was dripping with blood. Lu Ping's face was pale and his gaze was firm. He was still moving around on the green stone battlefield, resisting Feng Yin's attacks continuously. Feng Yin was expressionless and his attacks became sharper. The many earth immortals present could not see what weapon injured Lu Ping. Everyone could only see a cold light dancing around Feng Yin. Every time it appeared, it would cause a wisp of blood to appear on Lu Ping's body. In just a few breaths, Lu Ping's weak body was already covered with more than 10 wounds. It was a shocking sight. Lu Ping's face was pale and he was still waving the willow branch. His hands were constantly releasing immortal techniques and mystic arts. He bit his lips and fought against Feng Yin without saying a word. As long as I can escape for a moment longer, junior brother Su can rest for a moment longer. There were too many wounds and his blood qi was flowing badly. Lu Ping was already feeling a little dizzy. However, that thought was extremely firm in his mind. Lu Ping, come down. Su Zimo frowned slightly and said loudly. As though he did not hear anything, Lu Ping was still fighting against Feng Yin with all his might. You're still not admitting defeat? Feng Yin's expression turned cold. Naturally, he could tell Lu Ping's intentions and a cold light flashed beside him. Exclamation point. Blood spewed out and splattered in midair. Two skinny children's arms flew high into the air. Lu Ping's arms were chopped off by Feng Yin in a single move. Ah! Lu Ping let out a furious roar and did not retreat. Shaking his head, countless willow branches coiled towards Feng Yin like snakes. Lu Ping admits defeat. Fellow Taoist, please show mercy. Seeing that the situation was bad, Su Zimo stood up hurriedly and shouted. On the green stone battlefield, if Lu Ping refused to retreat, Feng Yin could even kill Lu Ping on the spot. Another streak of blood-red light gushed out. Lu Ping's chest was pierced by the cold light beside Feng Yin, creating a gigantic bloody hole. Lu Ping's heart was already pierced by Feng Yin and his blood qi was deteriorating rapidly. Right then, a green figure suddenly appeared on the battlefield and blocked in front of Lu Ping. Su Zimo appeared and clasped his fingers together, conjuring a sword art and pointing at the void before him. Clang! The tip of the sword flickered. Just as the tip of the sword was about to land, a cold light appeared in the void and collided with the tip of the sword. A sharp, ear-piercing sound was heard. Feng Yin retreated and his figure appeared. Looking at the other side of the green stone battlefield, he raised his brows slightly. But, does Qingkuan Academy want to fight with numbers? Why don't the two of you fight together? I can handle both of you. What an arrogant tone. As expected of a reincarnated perfected immortal. Someone praised. Another person pursed his lips and said, what do you know? Lu Ping's heart exploded and his blood qi deteriorated. He's almost equivalent to a cripple. If Su Zimo were to join forces with Lu Ping would instead become a burden to him. This reincarnated perfected immortal is smart. Su Zimo looked at Feng Yin coldly before turning to check on Lu Ping's injuries. Lu Ping's injuries were extremely severe. Feng Yin's subsequent attack clearly had the intention of crippling Lu Ping's body. However, it was a pity that Lu Ping's current body contained too much vitality. Even after suffering such severe injuries, his body did not deteriorate and was still recovering bit by bit. Although the speed was slow, as long as he nursed it carefully, his body would be able to recover to its original state. Junior brother Su, I couldn't hold on for long. Lu Ping endured the intense pain from his body and forced a smile on his face. It's enough. Su Zimo murmured softly and waved his sleeves, sending out a gentle breeze that wrapped around Lu Ping's body. Then he floated slowly to the spectator area of Qiankuan Academy. He did not leave the green stone battlefield. Perfected immortal Xie Ling stood up slowly as well and nodded. This is great. The 7th round of the Earth ranking battle, which is also the final battle, has officially begun. Chapter 2250. The final battle would also determine the top of the Earth roll for this year. Everyone was watching. Everyone knew that no matter who the winner of this battle was, the top of the Earth roll for this year had enough weight. This 10,000-year meeting would definitely be recorded in history and spread throughout the divine firmament continent. Looking at the two people on the bluestone battlefield, no one could be sure whether it would be the reincarnated immortal suppressing the rising demon of the later generation with thunderous means or the elite of the academy stepping on the glory of the predecessors to achieve supreme fame in this world. Just now, he has already admitted defeat. You don't have to attack anymore. Su Zimo looked at Feng Yin and said slowly, if he doesn't admit defeat personally, I won't stop. Feng Yin said coldly. The two of them stood on both sides of the bluestone battlefield and faced each other across the air. Their auras were constantly rising and neither of them was willing to show weakness. Their gazes collided in midair and sparks flew in all directions. Their killing intent was monstrous. But, do you want to seek an explanation for your fellow disciple? The corners of Feng Yin's mouth curled up slightly and a trace of mockery flashed past his eyes. I do have such plans. Su Zimo's tone was calm. That's good. Feng Yin suddenly emitted a huge pressure with his divine sense and said coldly, today, let me tell you a fact. You are a person who ascended from the lower realm and are not qualified to challenge my position. As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Yin directly attacked and burst out with many mystical abilities and immortal techniques. The power was ferocious and overwhelming as it struck towards Su Zimo. Su Zimo also took a deep breath and activated his essence soul to condense a mystical ability to fight head-on. There was no technique to speak of in this kind of mystical ability battle. It was just the continuous consumption of one's essence soul and essence chi. It was just like the battle between Su Zimo and immortal Taihua back then. Before the 6th round, the power of Su Zimo's essence soul had already recovered by 40%. Then, after the battle with Yufeng, he used up some energy and rested for a while before recovering about 40%. Now that both sides had unleashed their mystical abilities and immortal techniques, the power of Su Zimo's essence soul was rapidly being consumed. The divine light in Feng Yin's eyes became brighter and brighter. All of this was under his control. The situation is not good. Xia Qingcheng frowned and murmured, the current situation is just like the battle between brothers Su and immortal Taihua. In terms of the power of the essence spirit, Feng Yin has the absolute upper hand. Brother Su, you can't afford to exhaust him. Su Zimo was also aware of this point. In the process of the clash, he relied on the powerful physique of Qinglian's true body to withstand the power generated by the clash of the supernatural powers and constantly approached Feng Yin, shortening the distance between them. In this battle, if he wanted to defeat Feng Yin, the only way to win was through close combat. Qinglian's true body was currently in peak condition. With his close combat power, he could completely ignore all opponents of the same level. Whether it was a genius or a reincarnated immortal, Su Zimo was absolutely confident that he could suppress them in close combat. Finally, after a series of divine abilities and immortal techniques collided, the distance between the two sides was constantly shrinking. They had already entered Su Zimo's attack range. Su Zimo condensed the great primordial chaos palm and slammed it down towards Feng Yin's head. Its power was vigorous and unstoppable. Feng Yin chuckled and his body moved with the wind. Like a willow catkin, he floated up and down lightly, avoiding Su Zimo's great primordial chaos palm. The power of the palm landed in the air. Su Zimo's expression was calm. After missing his attack, he quickly stepped forward and attacked again, charging towards Feng Yin. Feng Yin's figure swayed and he dodged Su Zimo's killing move once again. In just a few breaths, Su Zimo attacked more than 10 times in a row. Each time, he missed and did not even touch Feng Yin's clothes. This scene was extremely similar to what Lu Ping was experiencing just now. Even if the opponent was Su Zimo, he could not change the situation or gain any advantage. So strong. I didn't expect that the Imperial Wind Monastery's wind-following shadow movement technique would be so powerful. Even Su Zimo's close combat is ineffective. If I had known this would happen, I would have joined the Imperial Wind Monastery during the Immortal Sect selection back then. With the help of such a movement technique, my combat strength would at least double. The crowd was in an uproar. Your Highness, could it be that Feng Yin is invincible with this movement technique? Su Shaoan looked concerned and worried. It's not that simple. Xie Qingqing looked solemn and shook her head. I've seen the wind-following shadow movement technique before. It's not as terrifying as what Feng Yin displayed. For Feng Yin to be able to unleash such power with this movement technique, he must have other means to assist him. On the green stone battlefield, Su Zimo's attacks were getting fiercer and fiercer, but Feng Yin was becoming more and more relaxed. Do you think you can beat me in close combat? Feng Yin smiled with a mocking expression. With the help of the wind-following shadow movement technique, he kept circling around Su Zimo. A cold light loomed on his body. It was the cold light that just now had severely injured Lu Ping. He could counterattack at any time. Does he have telepathy? Su Zimo's expression did not change as he suddenly murmured. Feng Yin exclaimed softly with a surprised expression. He did not expect Su Zimo to see through his methods so quickly. The reason why he could avoid Su Zimo's killing methods time and time again was not only because of the wind-following shadow movement technique of his sect, but more importantly, he had the help of the telepathy skill. The telepathy skill was a Buddhist mystic skill. As the name suggested, one could know what the other party was thinking. Feng Yin's understanding of the telepathy skill was far beyond others. With the help of the telepathy skill, he could sense the landing point of Su Zimo's attacks and the trajectory of each attack. With the help of his movement technique, he could avoid Su Zimo's killing attacks. Since ancient times, there were extremely few cultivators who could use the telepathy skill in battle. It required unimaginable comprehension and extraordinary reaction speed. Neither could be missing. It must have been tough for you to cultivate the telepathy skill to this extent. Su Zimo said indifferently and did not seem to be in a hurry. All of a sudden, in the midst of this intense battle, Su Zimo closed his eyes. That action caused an uproar in the crowd. Could it be that Su Zimo wants to use his spirit consciousness to fight? No way, that's equivalent to courting death. One had to know that to cultivators, even if they closed their eyes, they could use their divine sense to detect everything around them. In fact, there were many places where the spirit consciousness could see more and more things than the eyes. However, the spirit consciousness was not direct enough. In battle, one's line of sight was the most direct and could feed back all information to one's body at the first moment to react and judge. If one closed their eyes and relied on their spirit consciousness to fight, they would be a step slower in every aspect. You think you can hide from my telepathy skill by closing your eyes? Feng Yin laughed loudly. Su Zimo, you're too naive. In reality, Su Zimo did not just close his eyes. Instead, he sealed all 5 senses of his body. His vision, hearing, smell, touch, and all the reactions of his 5 senses would be sensed by the telepathy skill and used by Feng Yin. Chapter 2251. Back at the bottom of the Dragon Burial Valley of the Tianhuang mainland, Su Zimo experienced the mysteries of heart reading for the first time. At that time, Monk Xianbei did not even have to wait for Su Zimo's reply to know what the latter was thinking. However, Monk Xianbei's understanding of this divine power was far inferior to Feng Yin's. Just the fact that Zhang Xian was able to comprehend telepathy to such a level and fuse it perfectly with his battle prowess was enough to leave one astonished. Throughout history, there had not been many paragons or monster incarnates who could achieve this. Actually, the reason why Feng Yin was able to comprehend heart reading to such a level was mainly because of his reincarnation experience. He had died once. His soul carried a spirit consciousness imprint, and in a daze in an unknown place, he vaguely gained a trace of enlightenment. He reincarnated with that trace of enlightenment. Ever since he started cultivating, he had not recovered the memories of his previous life. However, he possessed the mysterious ability of heart reading from the moment he was born. Given his talent, it did not take long for him to fuse this ability into battle, and he was successful in every endeavor. Oh! Feng Yin's spirit consciousness twitched, and he sensed the changes in Su Zimo's body. His smile widened. Sealing your 5 senses? Do you think that you can avoid the detection of heart reading by sealing your 5 senses? Su Zimo was expressionless as he sealed his 5 senses to maintain an ethereal state. His heart gradually calmed down, remaining calm and without any ups and downs. If he wanted to hide from Feng Yin's heart reading, it was not enough to seal his 5 senses. He could not make any movements in his mind, or Feng Yin would definitely sense it. If Su Zimo wanted to release any methods, Feng Yin would sense it and warn him to be on guard. With that, his attacks would most likely fail and Feng Yin would have the upper hand in controlling the situation. Focus and calm your mind. Seal your 5 senses. Feng Yin frowned slightly. Through his heart reading, Su Zimo was like a deep and dark ancient well that could not be detected at all. Although there was a pool of well water in this ancient well, there was not the slightest ripple. It was completely still. It was an ancient well without ripples. Deceive. Humph, Feng Yin sneered, you've sacrificed so much to deal with my heart reading. Let's see how you're going to defend against my attacks. Feng Yin moved and made use of his shadow following the wind movement technique. A cold light shrouded his body as he switched from defense to offense and launched a ferocious attack toward Su Zimo. Su Zimo is about to be defeated. In the spectator stands, Celestial Immortal Azure Peak smiled. While it's true that you can avoid being detected by heart steel by concentrating your energy and heart and sealing off your 5 senses, you're dreaming if you think you can rely on your divine sense to block Windhide's attacks. The other cultivators nodded their heads as well. Just now, everyone was Su Zimo's to be in the situation. If Su Zimo did not seal his 5 senses, he would be led by the nose by Feng Yin. If he sealed his 5 senses, he would still be at a disadvantage and fall into Feng Yin's fierce attacks, unable to resist at all. I didn't expect Feng Yin to have such a move. True Immortal Xieling shook his head and lamented. He's almost invincible with his heart-reading technique. Even if Su Zimo is at his peak, he might not be able to win this match. Just as everyone was discussing, Feng Yin's attacks were ferocious on the battlefield. Both sides fought with speed and exchanged several rounds. Feng Yin relied on his shadow following the wind to attack quickly and from tricky angles. It was as though there was nothing he could not penetrate. Under such an attack, many Earth Immortal elites on the Earth roll would not be able to defend against it even if they released their 5 senses. However, to everyone's shock, Su Zimo received all of Feng Yin's attacks and even had the upper hand. A strange scene appeared on the battlefield. Even though it was clearly Wind Hidden who was attacking with a torrential attack, Wind Hidden was actually suppressed by Su Zimo, who had his 5 senses sealed and was at a disadvantage in the process of exchanging blows. How can this be? It's so strange. Could it be that Su Zimo has opened his heavenly eye? In the upper realm, there were people from the Heavenly Eye clan who had heavenly eyes that could hide from his heart-reading technique. However, it was obviously different from Su Zimo's situation. What is this Su Zimo relying on to fight? Heaven Immortal Qing Feng frowned. He had just said that Su Zimo would definitely lose. He did not expect the situation to change so strangely. A cold light flashed. The cold light that was circling around Feng Yin stabbed at the back of Su Zimo's head from an extremely tricky angle. This cold light was filled with killing intent. The sound of it piercing through the void was also extremely ear-piercing. However, as Su Zimo had sealed his five senses, he could not detect it at all. Even many Earth immortals widened their eyes and could not see what the cold light was. However, at the moment when the cold light flashed, Su Zimo did not look back. His face was expressionless as he fought with Feng Yin and suddenly grabbed back without warning. Clang, clang, clang. Su Zimo's fingertips flicked out with sharp fingernails that shone with a green light and were surrounded by lightning. Clang. Su Zimo's fingers grabbed the cold light from the back of his head, and there was a crisp sound as sparks flew. The true form of the cold light was finally revealed. Everyone could clearly see that the cold light was an exquisite flying dagger that was the length of a finger. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of cracks could be heard from the blade. Su Zimo released his grip and the flying dagger shattered into tiny shards that fell onto the green stone battlefield. Everyone was shocked. Such a powerful divine weapon was able to severely injure Lu Ping, but now, it was crushed by Su Zimo's fingernails. More importantly, the situation seemed to be changing. Feng Ying's advantage had already vanished without a trace. Nobody knew why Su Zimo, who had sealed his five senses, could fight against Feng Yin and even gain the upper hand. The reason why Su Zimo could do that was because of his spirit perception cultivated from the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. That was something that was even more unpredictable than mind reading. Su Zimo was also able to survive multiple life and death situations by relying on his spirit perception. The mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness was left behind by Dai Yu in the lower realm when Su Zimo first started cultivating. Many of the cultivation techniques and sutras within were already useless. However, the essence of that cultivation technique and the many killing moves could release unimaginable power even in the upper realm. Yu Feng, who was famous for his melee combat strength, could not even last 2 rounds against Su Zimo. That was how terrifying the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness was. Feng Yin stood on the green stone battlefield with a grim expression. To him, the destruction of a Dharma treasure was nothing. However, the fact that Su Zimo dispelled his mind reading was a huge blow to him. Up till this point of his cultivation, he had yet to meet an opponent who could dispel his mind reading. When he was an earth immortal, he had even met heavenly immortal experts who could not avoid the detection of his mind reading. To think that it would be dispelled by a nameless lower realm cultivator today. Chapter 2252. Su Zimo did not give Feng Yin any time to think or catch his breath. Relying on his spirit perception, Su Zimo continued to engage in melee combat with Feng Yin. All 10 of his fingernails popped out and shone with a cold glint. They were sharp like swords as they flew up and down in a ferocious attack. Each time he attacked, Su Zimo's body would be accompanied by a series of dragon roars that were incomparably loud and shook heaven and earth. His aura was torrential and he looked down on the world. In everyone's eyes, Su Zimo seemed to have disappeared. If everyone closed their eyes and used their spirit perception to probe, they would see a divine dragon with sharp claws and teeth soaring through the clouds in the limestone battlefield, shaking its head and tail while biting with its claws. In front of that divine dragon, Feng Yin was as insignificant as an ant, like a mayfly that wanted to shake a tree. Where did Su Zimo learn his melee combat techniques? The heaven immortals of the various factions were confused. I'm not sure. If I'm not wrong, it should have something to do with dragons. Perfected immortal Xie Ling pondered for a moment and said, in the 9 heavens, he once released a movement technique that was similar to teleportation. It should be a secret movement technique of the dragons as well. Even if he had a supreme opportunity to obtain the inheritance of some cultivation technique or secret skill of the dragons, he's a human. How can he unleash such power from the dragon's techniques? Another person asked with a frown. Xie Ling shook his head with a blank expression. Back when Su Zimo was on the Dragon Abyss planet, his essence spirit had fused with a dragon corpse by chance and fought against 3 perfected immortal experts. In that battle, the dragon corpse used its remaining memories to unleash many of the dragon race's close combat techniques. Su Zimo had fused with the dragon phoenix essence spirit and had once cultivated among the dragons. As such, he was extremely familiar with everything about them. When he cultivated the melee combat techniques of the dragons, he was able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. If Zither Immortal Meng Yao and the Moonlight Sword Immortal were present and saw Su Zimo's methods, they might be able to discover some clues and recall those unpleasant memories. On the Blue Stone battlefield, Su Zimo unleashed the close combat techniques of the dragons. His attacks were ferocious, and he had both form and spirit. Feng Yin could not withstand it at all, and he kept retreating. His mind connection was useless. Even if he had like shadow following the wind, in close combat, he was also not Su Zimo's match. Feng Yin remained calm and collected, but he was a little irritated in his heart. Although his telepathy ability was mysterious and miraculous, he had to constantly expend the power of his primordial spirit to maintain this state. Presently, his heart connection was useless. Maintaining this divine ability state was equivalent to wasting the strength of his origin spirit, so it was completely unnecessary. With that thought in mind, Feng Yin dispersed his mind connection. Suddenly, two divine lights suddenly blossomed in front of his eyes. Those were Su Zimo's eyes, so bright that it was terrifying. The moment Feng Yin dispersed his thought steal, Su Zimo felt something in his heart. He suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze was like a torch as he unlocked his five senses. Under the agitation of his mind, his aura rose to another level. Spirit perception was a passive reaction to danger. In such a battle, even if one's attacks were ferocious, they would not be able to unleash their full strength in close combat. If both parties were to continue fighting like this, it would be difficult to determine a victor. Now that Feng Yin had dispersed his mind connection, Su Zimo no longer had any scruples. Feng Yin, you've lost. Su Zimo revealed a hint of a smile with a mocking gaze. Not good. Feng Yin's heart sank and he realized that he might have made a huge mistake. It was impossible for him to condense his mind connection again now that he had dispersed it. Kill! Su Zimo sensed a flaw in Feng Yin's mind and shouted. Raising his fist, he smashed down towards Feng Yin's head like a gigantic seal, emitting a tragic blood stench. Feng Yin's expression changed in shock. His mind wavered slightly and that fleeting flaw was immediately seized by Su Zimo, releasing such a terrifying power. Feng Yin's aura was seized by Su Zimo and he could not resist. He could not help but growl and circulate his blood qi to its limits. Halt, 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 halt. A hurricane that connected the heavens and earth appeared behind Feng Yin, letting out a ghostly howl. Bloodline phenomenon. Feng Yin released his bloodline phenomenon, but he felt that it was not enough and released his visual technique right away. Two cold glints shone strangely from the depths of his eyes and shot out, arriving at Su Zimo's face instantly. Before the two cold glints slashed down, Su Zimo already felt a splitting pain on the skin on his face. That visual technique was extremely strong. Su Zimo had already released his visual technique in the 9 heavens. However, it was difficult for him to dodge at this distance. He tilted his head slightly and the two cold glints entered his left eye instantly. Immediately after, Su Zimo's left eye turned pitch black and emitted a cold and dark aura. There was no white in his eye and it looked somewhat terrifying. The scene of Feng Yin's eyeball being exposed and blood splattering did not appear. On the contrary, he saw a bottomless darkness in Su Zimo's left eye. His gaze, mind, essence spirit and essence qi seemed as though they were about to be devoured by that darkness. Thankfully, the darkness in Su Zimo's left eye dissipated rapidly. Pissed. Feng Yin was shocked and shuddered. His reaction was slightly slower as he hurriedly raised his arms to block thousands of years. Bang! Su Zimo's fist smashed down heavily with a tremendous force, as though mountains were crushing down. A series of creaking sounds could be heard from Feng Yin's body, as though his bones were about to fall apart. Although he had the support of his bloodline phenomenon, just because his mind was taken over by Su Zimo's left eye, his reaction was slower and he could not gather his full strength. In melee combat, if Su Zimo had the upper hand, he would release a suffocating attack and would definitely not give his opponent any chance. After that punch, Su Zimo darted forward with his legs slightly bent. His hand seemed to be holding something as he offered it to Feng Yin with a fake smile. Feng Yin's pupils constricted and he felt his head explode as his hairs stood on end. Making use of his status, he tapped the ground with the tip of his feet and retreated rapidly. However, Su Zimo was not slow and followed him like a shadow. Killing intent shrouded him the entire time and he was ready to strike. All of a sudden, without any warning, Feng Yin flicked his long hair. Buzz! A dense cold glint burst forth from Feng Yin's long hair and struck toward Su Zimo's face. This time, his speed was extremely fast, and his moves were also somewhat unconstrained. Nobody would have expected that a reincarnated immortal would have such a killing move hidden in his long hair. The cold glint made use of the wind and under the control of Feng Yin's bloodline phenomenon, it was extremely fast and arrived almost instantly. Su Zimo was in hot pursuit and could not dodge in time against such a counterattack. A series of exclamations could be heard from the crowd. Su Zimo had a calm expression and was in no hurry. His glabella opened up and a handful of shimmering golden sand appeared in front of him. Chapter 2253. The yellow sand filled the air, as if it had formed a yellow cloud. It was dense and tough, airtight. Feng Yin threw out a cold light, and all of it sank into the yellow sand. "Umph." Feng Yin sneered. "You want to defend against my gentle wind immortal needles with a ball of yellow sand?" To be precise, the gentle wind immortal needles were considered as heaven-grade Dharma treasures. Although Feng Yin's essence spirit was only at the level of a Tier 1 heavenly immortal and it was difficult for him to unleash the power of the immortal needles, it was not something that ordinary weapons could defend against. After a series of exchanges, Feng Yin realized that ordinary weapons and Dharma treasures could not hurt Su Zimo's foundation. Only by using Dharma treasures of a higher grade could he severely injure Su Zimo. If it was anyone else at the Earth Immortal realm, it would naturally be extremely difficult for them to obtain a powerful heaven-grade Dharma treasure. Even sects would not bestow heaven-grade Dharma treasures to Earth Immortals. However, Feng Yin was different. He was a reincarnated perfected immortal. Before his reincarnation, he was a legacy disciple of Imperial Wind Monastery and possessed unimaginable treasures. Many of those treasures were preserved for his use. There were a total of 108 Gentle Wind Immortal Needles, and it was only one of them. The Gentle Wind Immortal Needles were created in the Yin Wind Canyon of Imperial Wind Monastery by fusing Heavenly Light Stone, Golden Light Stone, Thunderfire Sand, Radiant Jade and many other rare materials for 100 years. The immortal needles were as thin as a cow's hair and were usually hidden in the hair and could not be detected at all. Clang, 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 clang. The yellow cloud rumbled and a sharp sound could be heard from within. It was as though the gentle wind immortal needles were trying to penetrate the yellow cloud and were constantly attacking. However, after a few breaths, not only did not a single gentle wind immortal needle appear, Feng Yin's control and perception of the set of immortal needles were getting weaker. In those few breaths, Su Zimo did not delay his attacks and his attacks became even more ferocious. Bang! Su Zimo bent his knees and advanced. He raised his hands and collided with Feng Yin's arms with a dull thud. Feng Yin's body shuddered. Even with the augmentation of his bloodline phenomenon, he could feel the blood in his body rumbling. His organs were vibrating and his bones were creaking. Feng Yin's heaven-grade Dharma treasure did not change the situation. Instead, he was in an even more difficult situation. His heaven-grade Dharma treasure was easily neutralized by the yellow sand released by Su Zimo as well. "Your Highness, can you tell what the yellow sand is?" Tian Yuan frowned slightly, looking confused, and could not help but ask. None of the numerous celestial immortal experts present could recognize the yellow sand released by Su Zimo. Even the few elders of Qiankuan Academy were bewildered. This yellow sand was definitely not a treasure of Qiankuan Academy. "I'm not sure." The true immortal Xie Ling frowned as well and pondered. "Since I started cultivating until now, I've never seen anyone use sand as a magic treasure weapon. It's indeed slightly strange. However, for this yellow sand to be able to block the gentle wind immortal needle, it can be seen how extraordinary it is. The yellow sand that came out of Su Zimo's glabella was none other than the Nine Heavens life soil. Generally speaking, he rarely used the Nine Heaven life soil. The flesh of the 10th grade Qinglian's true body was comparable to a connate earth rank magic treasure. Among those of the same level, there was almost no one who could hurt his foundation. But now, Feng Yin had taken out the heaven rank magic treasure, gentle wind immortal needle, and Qinglian's true body could no longer withstand it. Only the Nine Heavens life soil could neutralize it. Su Zimo was not worried that the Nine Heavens life soil would expose Qinglian's true body. Even with Dai Yu's cultivation realm and knowledge, she did not know what changes would happen to Qinglian after she reached the 9th grade. It was even more impossible for the Earth Immortals and Heaven Immortals present to see through the Nine Heavens life soil. On the battlefield, Feng Yin was forced to retreat continuously by Su Zimo. Even with his shadow following the wind movement technique, the space around him was getting smaller and smaller. Before long, Feng Yin was about to retreat to the edge of the green stone battlefield. Although Feng Yin was at a disadvantage, his expression was still calm and there was not much panic in his eyes. It was as though he was not worried about his situation. Even if he had heart connection and the heaven rank magic treasure was useless, he still had other methods. Any one of those methods could instantly change the situation of the battle. The many Earth Immortals in the square were watching the show. As for the Heaven Immortals in the spectator area, they could see even more clearly. They knew that Feng Yin was only at a disadvantage and did not show any signs of defeat. The outcome of the battle was still unknown. Let's end it here. Feng Yin suddenly opened his mouth and said indifferently. There was a condescending tone in his tone, as though he was getting impatient. At this moment, he did not seem like an Earth Immortal, but a perfected immortal of the past. Shh. Feng Yin swiped his palm across his storage bag. A dark light appeared. Feng Yin stepped on the dark light and with a whoosh, he disappeared from the edge of the green stone battlefield at a speed that was indiscernible to the naked eye, escaping from Su Zimo's attack range. It was too fast. Su Zimo frowned slightly. If he could still release the wings of the rock, he would naturally be able to catch up. But now, it was impossible for him to catch up with the burst of Qinglian's true body. He could clearly see that the dark light beneath Feng Yin's feet was a shuttle-shaped Dharma treasure. Feng Yin made use of that Dharma treasure to increase his speed by several times and escape from his attack. Heaven's dark light shuttle. Tian Yuan's gaze focused and he suddenly spoke. Perfected immortal Xie Ling nodded as well. That's right, that's Feng Yin's destiny Dharma treasure before he reincarnated. It's also a pure yang spirit treasure. Heaven's dark light shuttle. Back then, Feng Yin made use of this Dharma treasure to roam the divine clouds continent unhindered without tasting defeat. Even if he encountered a strong enemy, he could make use of the Heaven's dark light shuttle to escape far away, leaving his opponent far behind and unable to catch up. With this pure yang spirit treasure, Feng Yin was able to traverse the worlds of the heavens in the past and was omnipotent. He narrowly escaped death several times and made a name for himself. Later on, Feng Yin encountered a strong enemy from the outside world in the heavens and was severely injured. Although he managed to escape back to the divine clouds continent with the Heaven's dark light shuttle, he was already at the end of his rope. That was the reason why he reincarnated later on. Xie Ling paused for a moment and said, "Seems like Feng Yin did encounter quite a bit of trouble in that battle back then. Even this Heaven's dark light shuttle was severely injured and is crippled. Even if it's crippled, it's still a pure yang spirit treasure of the 9 tribulations and its quality is still there. Although it can't unleash the true power of a spirit treasure, it's enough to kill Su Zimo." Heaven Immortal Bai Hai said coldly. Under normal circumstances, given Feng Yin's essence spirit realm, he should not be able to control this Heaven's dark light shuttle. However, this was his destiny Dharma treasure before he reincarnated and was extremely compatible with his essence spirit. That was why he could use this Dharma treasure. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Just as the experts were discussing, the dark light flickered continuously on the green stone battlefield. It was extremely fast and the Earth Immortals could no longer see Feng Yin's figure. In the eyes of everyone, They could only see a dark light around Su Zimo that disappeared and reappeared from time to time. It danced and circled around him, launching a ferocious attack. After using this Destiny Dharma treasure of the past, Feng Yin regained control of the initiative. Chapter 2254. A few streaks of bloody light appeared on Su Zimo's body. The speed of the black light shuttle was too fast. Su Zimo relied on his spirit perception to avoid being hit in his vitals. However, he was still injured by the black light shuttle. There were wounds on his arms, shoulders, and thighs that were dripping with fresh blood. The many disciples of Qianquan Academy became extremely nervous. "Elder Zhong, why don't we admit defeat?" Princess Qi Hong said with a worried expression. Feng Yin is relying on his previous life's weapon. In this aspect, junior brother Su is too weak. He can't win at all. Elder Zhong and the others looked at each other and hesitated. Su Zimo was indeed at a disadvantage and was completely suppressed by Feng Yin. However, his expression was calm and he didn't seem to be in a desperate situation. Although there were a few wounds on Su Zimo's body, it didn't take long for the wounds to stop bleeding and show signs of healing. These were only minor injuries. To Qinglian's true body, they were nothing. "Let's wait and see," Elder He said in a low voice. He stared at the battlefield without blinking and was ready to call for a stop at any time. On the limestone battlefield, Su Zimo was also thinking of a solution. If he wanted to break the situation, he had to get rid of Feng Yin's blacklight shuttle. The health-suppressing cauldron was currently devouring and refining several treasures in the 9 heavens and couldn't be interrupted. Although the saints' souls had awakened, their strength hadn't fully recovered. Moreover, this was Su Zimo's strongest trump card. He didn't want to reveal it in a battle between peers. The living soil of the 9 heavens was still tumbling in the air not far away. Su Zimo wanted to recall the living soil of the 9 heavens. The 108 gentle wind immortal needles in it were restless and wanted to escape and return to Feng Yin's control. The living soil of the 9 heavens couldn't be moved. Otherwise, it would be troublesome for Feng Yin to control the gentle wind immortal needles. At this moment, the black light appeared again and pierced toward Su Zimo's glabella. This time, Su Zimo didn't dodge. With a thought, a green light appeared on his palm. It was an incomparably exquisite jade artifact. The tip of the artifact was in the shape of an auspicious cloud, and there were 3 precious pearls inlaid on top of it. This jade artifact was the tri-precious jade scepter that Su Zimo had derived when he broke through to the 10th grade creation realm, Qinglian. In the beginning, the 3 pearls were dim and lightless. Now, Su Zimo had been cultivating for many years, constantly cultivating the Supreme Profound Spirit Big Dipper Sutra. This tri-gem Rui scepter also attracted a large amount of light from the sun, moon, and stars. The 3 pearls gradually regained their luster and became dazzling. Actually, these 3 pearls were condensed from the essence of the sun, moon, and star within the chaos, and they corresponded to the heavens, earth, and man. Su Zimo cultivated the Supreme Profound Spirit Big Dipper Sutra and refined the stars. Qinglian's primordial spirit also received a huge amount of nourishment as she held the 3 treasures Jade Rui. As for the 3 pearls of the tri-gem Rui scepter, they released an even more condensed tricolored starlight, allowing Su Zimo to cultivate the Supreme Profound Spirit Big Dipper Sutra at an even faster speed. Otherwise, there was no way he could have cultivated to the 3rd level of this cultivation technique and opened up a 3rd stellar region in a mere 1,000 years. When Su Zimo first obtained the tri-gem Rui scepter, he was pressed for time and did not have much time to study it. He only managed to find out one of the uses of the tri-gem Rui scepter, to change one's appearance. It was also because of this that he was able to avoid the pursuit order of the Duke of Yuanzhou within the territory of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom and lay low for 2,000 years. Apart from cultivating in seclusion in Heaven and Earth Academy, Su Zimo would also study the uses of the tri-gem Rui scepter in his free time. He had gained some insights over the years, but he did not have the chance to test it out. Now that Feng Yin had summoned the Heaven's Dark Shuttle, Su Zimo pondered for a moment and took out the tri-gem Rui scepter. Su Zimo raised his hand and with his spirit perception, he raised the Trigem Rui scepter and struck it towards the heaven's dark shuttle, trying to break a rock with an egg. When Feng Yin saw Su Zimo's actions, he roared in laughter. Compared to the heaven's dark shuttle, that jade artifact looked incomparably fragile and could shatter with a single strike. Clang. However, after the collision of the two Dharma treasures, the sound of jade colliding could be heard on the battlefield. Feng Yin's figure was revealed and his entire body was covered in arrays. With a shocked expression, he lost his footing and nearly fell from midair. The heaven's dark shuttle revealed itself as well. It swayed slightly and fell from midair, as though it had suffered a huge blow. Everyone was shocked. What's going on? What's that jade artifact? To think that it could strike down the heaven's dark shuttle. Although the heaven's dark shuttle is crippled, it was still a pure yang spirit treasure of the 9 tribulations in the past. How is that possible? The crowd was in an uproar and clamor. Even the perfected immortal Xie Ling, Heavenly Abyss and many elders of Heaven and Earth Academy were dumbfounded. On the green stone battlefield, Feng Yin was even more frustrated and confused. When he saw Su Zimo take out an exquisite jade artifact and strike at the heaven's dark shuttle beneath his feet, he did not think much of it at all. That jade artifact did not contain much power. However, when the jade artifact struck the heaven's dark shuttle, the essence qi that was imbued with the heaven's dark shuttle was dissipated. At the same time, the essence qi within his body was sent into chaos through the heaven's dark shuttle as well. Caught off guard, Feng Yin was caught off guard and nearly fell from midair. Feng Yin hurriedly channeled his spirit consciousness and attempted to control the heaven's dark shuttle once more. Stabilizing himself, he looked at the jade artifact in Su Zimo's hands with a wary expression. When he saw that, Su Zimo was secretly delighted. The 3 pearls on the 3 gems Rui scepter absorbed more essence of the sun, moon and stars and gradually produced a tricolored glow. Su Zimo discovered that the tricolored glow seemed to have a unique effect on essence qi. Now that it was released in battle, it was indeed extraordinary. After all, the heaven's dark shuttle was once a pure yang spirit treasure of the 9 tribulations and its foundation was there. If it was an ordinary Dharma treasure, it would most likely be knocked down and unable to be used for a short period of time even though it would not be damaged after being struck by the 3 gems Rui scepter. Seeing the might of the 3 gems Rui scepter, Su Zimo was invigorated. Striding forward, he struck at Feng Yin with the 3 gems Rui scepter. Swoosh! Feng Yin channeled the heaven's dark shuttle once more, wanting to increase the distance. However, the heaven's dark shuttle was clearly greatly affected after being struck by the 3 gems Rui scepter once. Its speed was also greatly reduced and it could no longer shake off Su Zimo. The situation changed once more. Feng Yin dodged a few times but still could not shake off Su Zimo's pursuit. His expression turned cold as he said coldly, "Do you think that my weapon only has this little ability? Go." Feng Yin's hand seals changed as he channeled his spirit consciousness and shot out a stream of essence qi into the heaven's dark shuttle beneath his feet. He pointed at Su Zimo. Swoosh! A dark light flashed and pierced toward Su Zimo. While it was still in midair, the dark light suddenly disintegrated and turned into 6 streaks of dark light that tore through the air. Chapter 2255. If the heaven's dark light shuttle was in perfect condition, the changes it could produce at its peak would not be limited to this. Of course, even the current changes were enough to affect the outcome of the battle. The heaven's dark light shuttle split into 6 and circled in midair, piercing towards Su Zimo from different directions at an extremely fast speed. Although the Trigem Rui scepter had a mysterious power and its tricolored light could wipe out divine weapons and dissipate essence qi, it was difficult for it to wipe out all 6 beams of dark light at the same time. At the same time, a massive spirit consciousness condensed continuously in Feng Yin's glabella, emanating a shuddering energy fluctuation. Not good. Elder Zhong of Heaven and Earth Academy frowned and exclaimed, "He's about to release his essence spirit's secret skill." The other disciples of the academy were shocked. They had witnessed with their own eyes how Su Zimo released 3 Essence Spirit secret skills in order to fight against Immortal Tai Hua and the other Earth Immortal experts in Ninth Heavens. That was already Su Zimo's limit. Furthermore, Su Zimo's power of Essence Spirit was being depleted continuously in the battle against Feng Yin. Right now, he was probably only left with 10% to 20% of his power of Essence Spirit. Even if he knew other Essence Spirit secret skills, his power of Essence Spirit would not be able to release another Essence Spirit secret skill. Feng Yin had already released his Essence Spirit secret skill without holding back at all. Buzz. A cold beam of light shot out from Feng Yin's glabella at an extremely fast speed, even faster than the 6 beams of dark light. It arrived before Su Zimo despite being launched later. The cold beam of light was a wind blade condensed from Feng Yin's massive spirit consciousness using his Essence Spirit secret skill and had already materialized. Su Zimo did not move or dodge at all. He could not dodge under the shroud of the Essence Spirit secret skill. The wind blade pierced through Su Zimo's glabella and disappeared into his consciousness. It's over. Xie Qingqing's expression dimmed and she looked regretful. Both Duke Yuanzhua and Heaven Immortal by Hai were elated and excited. Haha. Commandery Prince Yuanzhua could not help but laugh. A level 1 Divine Immortal's primordial spirit attack has already entered his mind. Su Zimo is dead for sure. Bai Hai opened his folding fan once more and smiled. Even if that lad has some sort of Essence Spirit defensive Dharma treasure, his Essence Spirit secret technique has already entered his consciousness. The shockwaves from the collision will definitely deal a massive blow to his Essence Spirit. Not to mention, there's still the All Heavens shuttle of dark light. Upon seeing this, Celestial Immortal Green Peak finally relaxed. Although there were some twists and turns in this battle, they finally won. These Heavenly Immortal experts had brilliant discerning abilities, and their deductions were all correct. The power of Su Zimo's Essence Spirit was indeed close to exhaustion and he could no longer release any Essence Spirit secret skills. However, he had a magical treasure that targeted primordial spirit attacks. At the moment the Wind Concealment Essence Soul Mystic technique was condensed, the 90 Qinglian seeds in Su Zimo's Sea of Consciousness had already condensed together, forming a sharp Qinglian sword. However, Su Zimo had his reservations. The Qinglian seeds were different from Dharma treasures such as the Triple Jade Rui Scepter and 9 Heavens Breath Soil. It was easy for others to see through their origins and link them to the Lotus platform. That was the reason why Su Zimo did not release the Qinglian sword. Instead, he left the battlefield of the Essence Spirit fight in his Sea of Consciousness. The wind blade entered his Sea of Consciousness and collided with the Qinglian sword. The Qinglian sword dissipated and turned into 90 Qinglian seeds once more, returning to the Creation Lotus platform. The wind blade dissipated as well. When the wind blade collided with the Qinglian sword, an extremely powerful spirit consciousness fluctuation burst forth and swept through Su Zimo's entire Sea of Consciousness. However, the Qinglian Essence Spirit was seated on the Creation Lotus platform. The Lotus platform spewed out rays of light that enveloped the surroundings and neutralized the spirit consciousness fluctuation without any damage. The Essence Spirit secret skill, Wind Invisibility, was silently dispelled by Su Zimo. He merely had an additional blood mark on his glabella and his Sea of Consciousness was slightly damaged. It had a negligible impact on his combat strength. Before Duke Yuanzhua and Heaven Immortal by Hai could finish laughing, a change happened on the green stone battlefield. Although Su Zimo was struck by an Essence Spirit secret skill, he was not affected at all. Instead, he channeled his Essence Spirit and suddenly turned the Triple Jade Rui Scepter around, gripping its head and revealing its tail. Essence Qi surged endlessly into the Triple Jade Rui Scepter. Suddenly, the exquisite jade artifact let out an incomparably majestic dragon roar that reverberated through the 9 heavens. Even the massive palace of Flaming Sun Palace trembled slightly. At the end of the Triple Jade Rui Scepter, which was also the handle, there were 9 5-clawed golden dragons of different shapes and horns carved on their heads. At that moment, the rays of light from the 3 limitless jewels surged wildly into the handle. The 9 five-clawed golden dragons came to life and broke off from the triple jade Rui scepter, soaring into the air. Each of them had their own charm and sharp claws as they reared their heads and roared with endless might. The crowd was in an uproar. It was an extremely shocking scene. On the green stone battlefield, a green-robed cultivator wielded a jade Rui scepter with 9 five-clawed golden dragons circling around him. Their whiskers fluttered and their eyes widened as they roared endlessly. Under the cover of the 9 dragons, the green-robed cultivator exuded an unstoppable aura of supremacy. The 6 beams of dark light produced by the Heaven's Dark Shuttle were stopped by 6 of the 5-clawed golden dragons the moment they arrived. They fought continuously in midair and it was hard to tell who had the upper hand. However, there were still 3 5-clawed golden dragons left in midair besides Su Zimo, glaring at Wind Invisibility who was not far away with a murderous aura. Sticky dragon saliva flowed from their mouths as they breathed out dragon breaths, ready to lunge forward at any moment. He's not dead? Su Zimo is still alive after being struck by Wind Invisibility's Essence Spirit secret skill. What's going on? How is that possible? Where did those 9 5-clawed golden dragons come from? They look so real. Why do I feel an uncontrollable palpitation in front of those divine dragons? A commotion broke out from the crowd as exclamations, shock and doubts intertwined. However, none of them could drown out the dragon roars on the battlefield. The smiles of Duke Yuanzhua and Heaven Immortal Bai Hai froze on their faces. Heaven Immortal Qingfeng's expression darkened as well. Many cultivators of Heaven and Earth Academy heaved a sigh of relief and cheered. What a powerful Dharma treasure! Perfected Immortal Xieling was secretly speechless when he looked at the tri-jade Rui scepter in Su Zimo's hands. That small jade item was able to fight against the spirit-channeling Dharma treasure of a reincarnated perfected immortal. Not only that, it could produce such powerful transformations and even destroy the weapons and Dharma treasures of others. Even with his knowledge as a perfected immortal, he did not know the origin of that jade Rui scepter. Logically speaking, a Dharma treasure that was so powerful and had so many transformations should not be nameless. Although the tri-jade Rui scepter did not have much sharpness nor did it contain any ferocious power, it had the advantage of endless transformations and was endlessly mysterious. This was the first time Su Zimo released those 9 5-clawed golden dragons. He did not expect them to possess such terrifying might. Book Guest Residence Reading Website. Chapter 2256. Of course, the 9 5-clawed golden dragons also consumed all the light in the 3 Wuji pearls. At this moment, the 3 Wuji pearls dimmed again. Without the tri-colored light, the tri-gem Rui scepter was almost equivalent to an ordinary jade artifact. Su Zimo threw the tri-gem Rui scepter into his sea of consciousness again. This Dharma treasure was enough to help him. Go! Su Zimo pointed at Feng Yin. The remaining 3 5-clawed golden dragons were already impatient. They roared and charged towards Feng Yin. Swoosh! A green figure flashed. Su Zimo followed closely behind and approached Feng Yin quickly. This time, he would not give Feng Yin any chance. Flying Cloud Sword, Golden Flame Seal, Dragon Binding Rope. Feng Yin swiped his hand over his storage pouch and directly withdrew 3 heaven-rank magic treasures from within before striking them towards the 3 5-clawed golden dragons in midair. Clang, clang. The Flying Cloud Sword blocked one of the 5-clawed golden dragons and clashed with it in midair. Sparks flew everywhere and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Although the 5-clawed golden dragon was ferocious, the Flying Cloud Sword was sharp. When it slashed the dragon's body, large pieces of dragon scales fell off. The Golden Flame Seal and Dragon Binding Rope blocked the other 2 5-clawed golden dragons. They fought in midair and it was hard to tell who had the upper hand. Feng Yin has too many Dharma treasures. Almost all of them are heaven-grade Dharma treasures. After all, he's a reincarnated perfected immortal. He has a strong foundation. From the looks of it, Immortal Tai Hua died a little unjustly. If Dharma treasures and weapons can be used in the 9 heavens, Su Zimo might not be able to win that battle. Everyone discussed incessantly. On the bluestone battlefield, Feng Yin's face was slightly pale. He did have many Dharma treasures and weapons. There were even more Dharma treasures in his storage bag. However, controlling these Dharma treasures and weapons was also a huge drain on his essence soul. Now, he released the Gentle Wind Immortal Needle, Black Light Shuttle, Flying Cloud Sword, Golden Flame Seal, and Dragon Binding Rope. They were all heaven-grade or above Dharma treasures. His nascent divinity realm was only that of a first-tier heaven immortal. Controlling so many heaven-grade magical treasures at the same time was already his limit. Su Zimo rushed forward again, like a galloping divine steed. His entire body was filled with an incomparably tragic aura, and his momentum was unstoppable. This time, Feng Yin did not retreat or dodge. Su Zimo, we finally reached the step, Feng Yin said. He gathered the last of his primordial spirit power and formed a spell in his hand. The terrifying power of the spell condensed and the sky changed color. Yes. The power of a peerless divine ability. Another wave of shouts erupted from the crowd. All the cultivators were shocked. Xie Qingqing stood up subconsciously. He wasn't surprised by this at all. The way he saw it, Feng Yin's greatest reliance was actually the exceptional divine ability. If Su Zimo was at the peak, then Feng Yin's supreme ability was naturally not his greatest reliance. But now, the two of them had gone through a fierce battle. Su Zimo's primordial spirit was almost exhausted, and Feng Yin could still release a peerless divine ability. That was the final killing move. In fact, the scene of Su Zimo killing immortal Tai Hua in the ninth heaven was somewhat similar to what was happening now. Su Zimo was also continuously exhausting the power of immortal Tai Hua's primordial spirit. In the end, when the power of immortal Tai Hua's primordial spirit was exhausted, he released a peerless divine ability and killed immortal Tai Hua in one strike. It was obvious that Feng Yin had calculated everything. He left that trump card until the end because he was certain that Su Zimo's primordial spirit power could not release another peerless divine ability. Mr. Su's physical body might be able to withstand this peerless divine ability? Su Xiaotian couldn't help but ask. After all, in the ninth heaven, Su Zimo was the one who resisted immortal Tai Hua's peerless divine ability and killed him. That's different. Xie Qingqing shook her head and said, in the ninth heaven, Su Zimo was also seriously injured after resisting a peerless divine ability, but he directly killed immortal Tai Hua and did not give him any chance. And now, even if Brother Su can resist this peerless divine ability and be seriously injured, he has no other means to kill Feng Yin. On the contrary, Feng Yin will seize this opportunity to defeat Brother Su. Feng Yin looked at Su Zimo, who was getting closer and closer, and a hint of mockery flashed across his eyes. He said, you probably didn't expect that you would be defeated in the same situation. This might be karma, and it's also your destiny. Immortal Tai Hua died, and I will take back the dignity that the reincarnated perfected immortal lost. I want you to understand one thing, the reincarnated immortal is definitely not someone you, who ascended from the lower realm, can challenge. As soon as he finished speaking, the power of the divine ability condensed in Feng Yin's hand had reached its limit. Hurricane disaster. Feng Yin pointed at Su Zimo. A huge black hurricane appeared in front of him, filled with an extremely terrifying aura. It let out a ghostly wail as if it could tear everything in the world apart. Hurricane disaster was a peerless divine ability that was extremely deadly. It was even more terrifying than the one that immortal Tai Hua had released previously. In the face of this peerless divine ability, Su Zimo did not stop. His expression was extremely calm as he circulated the remaining soul core energy in his sea of consciousness, and his hands moved to form a strange seal that was extremely divine and boundlessly profound. Everything is impermanent, it is the life and death Dharma. The life and death of thoughts are impermanent. Su Zimo murmured softly. A few Sanskrit words were neither soft nor heavy, but they spread to every corner of the flaming sun palace. An incomparably mysterious power permeated the seal formed by his hands. Su Zimo released this seal and hit it towards the hurricane disaster in front of him. Feng Yin sneered. It's just a Buddhist seal and you want to fight against a peerless divine ability? You must be dreaming. Not only him, many of the heaven immortals present could see it clearly. Although Su Zimo's dermic seal looked mysterious, it did not possess any divine powers and should be an ordinary secret skill of the Buddhist monasteries. It was impossible to use a Buddhist secret technique to fight against such a ferocious and peerless divine ability. At this moment, the Buddhist dermic seal collided with the hurricane disaster. Swoosh! In an instant, the black hurricane that just now was destroyed. Countless divine abilities dissipated and it did not affect Su Zimo at all. Feng Yin's expression changed and his pupils contracted violently. There was only one question left in his mind. How could this be? When the hurricane disaster disappeared, Su Zimo had already rushed forward and bent his knees. He was like a galloping divine horse that was unstoppable. Feng Yin did not have time to dodge. He could only raise his arms to block his chest. Bang! Su Zimo crashed heavily into his chest. Feng Yin felt a sharp pain in his arms and he could vaguely hear the sound of bones cracking. Translator, Transin Editor, Transin. Chapter 2257. Initially, everyone thought that there was no suspense in this battle after Feng Yin released his peerless divine powers. To think that the situation would change so quickly. Suddenly, Su Zimo released a dermic seal of the Buddhist monasteries, dissipating the hurricane calamity without any warning and allowing him to close in. Even the spectators were stunned on the spot, let alone Feng Yin who was in the middle of the battle. None of them understood what happened. For a battle of this level, a single misstep could lead to a bottomless abyss. Feng Yin had already used all his trump cards and his essence chi and essence spirit were exhausted to their limits. He was no match for Su Zimo at all in close range. Su Zimo used a killing move from the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness and severely injured Feng Yin in the blink of an eye. At the moment when his life was on the line, Feng Yin had a strong desire to live as well. Before his blood chi dissipated completely, he gathered all his blood chi together and exploded. Right then, he received a tremendous amount of power and retreated, turning into a streak of blood light that fell from the green stone battlefield. Feng Yin was defeated. A green-robed figure was the only one left standing on the green stone battlefield in midair of the square. The crowd fell silent for a moment. In the direction of Heaven and Earth Academy, Infanta Chi Hong and the others burst into cheers with excited expressions. The crowd was in an uproar as well. Su Zimo won. A level 8 Earth Immortal became the top of the Earth ranking and defeated 2 reincarnated perfected immortals. He's truly invincible among his peers. This 10,000-year meeting is enough to go down in history. Have you guys realized that Feng Yin's injuries should have been done intentionally by Su Zimo? Many cultivators were startled and understood the meaning of that statement. Previously, Feng Yin injured Lu Ping of Heaven and Earth Academy by severing the latter's arms and penetrating his chest. But now, Su Zimo tore apart Feng Yin's arms and penetrated his heart and chest. The injuries were almost identical. It was clear that he was taking revenge for Lu Ping. To think that someone who ascended from the lower world would step on 2 reincarnated immortals to reach the top of the Earth ranking in this 10,000-year meeting. Such a huge commotion has not happened for hundreds of thousands of years. An old man sighed. The last time a creature from the lower realms acted so awe-inspiring, it might have been Feng Cantillon from back then. Another person said. The first old man shook his head and said, I heard that although Feng Cantillon was the first on the Earth ranking and was unrivaled, his opponents weren't as dazzling as this one. Both Prince Yuanzhua and Celestial Immortal White Sea had ugly looks on their faces. Su Zimo had become the first on the Earth leaderboard. This meant that the alliance between the two forces had completely failed. The loss of the Earth Immortals from the two factions was secondary. The main reason was that the incident was too humiliating. For a long time to come, it would be the topic of discussion among the cultivators. Commandery Prince Yuanzhua looked at Su Zimo's back. Even though he was filled with resentment, there was nothing he could do. He realized one thing. Since he failed to kill Su Zimo in this Millennium meeting, he might not have another chance in the future. In Bai Hai's heart, he was also thinking about how to report to Zither Immortal when he returned to the sect. The two of them had a tacit understanding and didn't stay any longer. After bidding farewell to true immortal Xieling, they left in a hurry with their subordinates. The Earth Immortals of the two factions had already been killed by Su Zimo. If the two of them continued to stay, they would only be asking for trouble. Feng Yin, how are you? Are you all right? Celestial Immortal Greenpeak's expression was ugly as he helped Feng Yin back to the table and asked softly. Feng Yin took out a few medicine bottles from his storage bag and swallowed more than 10 elixirs in one go. Only then did his expression soften and stabilize his injuries. I'm fine. Feng Yin raised his head slightly and looked at the figure on the green stone battlefield. His gaze was cold as he spat out 3 words. How did this happen? Celestial Immortal Green Peak frowned and asked, why did your hurricane disaster suddenly disappear? Did you see the origin of that dermic seal? Although he was a Celestial Immortal expert, his knowledge and eyesight might not be better than Feng Yin's. I'm not sure either. Feng Yin shook his head slightly. That dermic seal should be from the Buddhist sect. I've never seen it before. I don't know why, but the moment the dermic seal made contact with the hurricane disaster dissipated on the spot. The change was too fast. Under that situation, he could not react at all. Under normal circumstances, even if Su Zimo released a peerless divine ability to fight against the hurricane disaster, there would be an intense collision. The power of the divine ability would spread and both sides would be forced to retreat. But the scene just now, the moment the hurricane came into contact with the Buddhist dermic seal, it disappeared without a sound. There were no signs, nor were there any energy fluctuations. Because of that, Su Zimo could rush to Feng Yin without any hindrance and unleash his killer move. On the green stone battlefield, Su Zimo was slowly recovering his vitality and stamina. He could sense the shock, admiration, jealousy, coldness, envy, and all sorts of complicated gazes around him. However, his heart was calm. He did not win this battle easily. If he had not used the secret technique of the Nirvana Sutra, the impermanence seal, at the end, the outcome of this battle would have been unpredictable. Impermanence was the law of life and death. The life and death of thoughts were impermanence. All things in the world were changeable. Everything was in a cycle of life and death. Just like all living things, from the beginning of the intersection of yin and yang, heaven and earth, life was born. When the body was completed, it was called life. When the body gradually aged, it was called life. When the lifespan ended, it was called death. The peerless divine ability, hurricane disaster, released by Feng Yin, could not escape this change of life and death. When Feng Yin activated his consciousness and condensed the dermic seal, it was called life. When the hurricane disaster was formed, it was called life. When the divine ability whistled, whether the strength was increased or decreased, it was called life. No matter what divine ability, there would be a moment when it would disappear and be destroyed. All things were impermanent and changeable. And the fastest way to change was through one's mind. The life and death of the mind was in a flash. Su Zimo condensed the impermanence seal and touched the hurricane disaster. The life and death of the hurricane disaster were all in his mind. Therefore, the moment this peerless divine ability was condensed, it was turned into nothingness by the supreme power contained in the impermanence seal. According to the Sky Wolf, the Wisdom Nirvana Sutra was a forbidden secret manual. Up until now, the dermic seal recorded in it had indeed displayed an extremely terrifying power. This secret technique did not consume much of the primordial spirit, but it could neutralize peerless divine abilities. The Earthboard ranking battle has ended. At this moment, perfected Immortal Xieling's voice sounded and he said slowly, "Next, I will announce this year's Earthboard ranking. First place of the Earthboard, Heaven and Earth Academy, Su Zimo." Whoosh. As Xieling's voice sounded, a huge list appeared in midair and dropped down. On the first row was a line of words, Heaven and Earth Academy, Su Zimo. This line of words represented the supreme glory among the Earth Immortals. Second place of the Earth Board, Imperial Wind Temple, Feng Yin. Third place of the Earth Board. Xie Ling paused for a moment and his gaze landed in the direction of Heaven and Earth Academy. He then said, although we have debated about the third place of the Earth Board, in the end, it is Lu Ping from Heaven and Earth Academy. Heaven and Earth Academy occupied 2 of the top 3 places of the Earth Board. Chapter 2258. Yu Feng was ranked 4th on the Earth Board. Qi Hong Countess was ranked 6th. As Xie Ling finished reading the names of the 100 Earth Immortals, the huge Earth Board was also filled with names. The line of words at the top of the list was shining with golden light. It was the most dazzling. After today, this Earth Board would spread all over the divine firmament immortal realm in various ways. The 10,000-year meeting has ended. Everyone, please go back and rest. Xie Ling said loudly. 3 days later, the 100 cultivators on the Earth Board will come back here to receive your rewards. Su Zimo, follow me. Xie Ling looked at Su Zimo on the bluestone battlefield and nodded slightly. Many cultivators' eyes were filled with envy. One had to know that the reward for the first place on the Earth Board was the most generous. It was different from the others on the Earth Board. The most important thing was that the first place on the Earth Board could choose a secret skill and a heaven-grade magic treasure from the library and armory of the Flaming Sun Palace. Su Zimo took a deep breath of air and chased after Xie Ling in a flash. The cultivators on the square and the various forces also left. The 10,000-year meeting had ended. Other than the cultivators who entered the Earth Board, most of the sects and forces chose to return home. Su Zimo followed behind Xie Ling all the way to the depths of the Flaming Sun Palace. The layout of the Flaming Sun Palace was very particular. Whether it was the flowers, trees, or the architectural style, they were all filled with the power of fire. Even the stone pavement under Su Zimo's feet was burned red. If one's cultivation was not enough, it would be impossible to enter and exit the Flaming Sun Palace freely. Your performance this time really opened my eyes. Xie Ling did not turn back. She suddenly spoke and praised, with your talent and potential, your future achievements are limitless. Your Highness is too kind. Su Zimo replied. Xie Ling said again, you and Qi Hong are from the same sect. This time, you experienced such a change in the 9 heavens. It can be considered a trial. In the future, you can walk around more in the Qianquan Academy. Xie Ling's words were obviously to rope him in. Su Zimo responded with a smile and didn't say anything else. Not long after, Xie Ling brought Su Zimo to a 3-story building. There were 2 armored guards standing guard at the entrance of the pavilion. They were expressionless and had ghastly gazes. Their cultivations were at the heavenly immortal realm. Go in. This is the library of the Flaming Sun Palace. Other than the ancient books on the 3rd floor, you are not allowed to borrow them. You can browse through the rest of the secret skills. Xie Ling said, I'll give you 2 hours. After 2 hours, no matter what cultivation method you choose, it will be forcefully sent out. Alright. Su Zimo nodded. He wasn't surprised by this. After all, Su Zimo was a disciple of the Qianquan Academy. He was considered an outsider. No matter how great the reward from the Flaming Sun Immortal Empire was, it was impossible for them to allow Su Zimo to cultivate the secret arts of the Flaming Sun Immortal Empire. It was highly likely that the 3rd floor of the library contained the secret arts of the Flaming Sun Immortal Empire. Su Zimo entered the library and took a deep breath. He went up to the 2nd floor and walked around casually before heading towards the northwest direction. Just as he was leaving the square, Xia Qingcheng secretly transmitted a message to him and gave him some pointers. In the northwest direction of the 2nd floor, there were a few ancient books with precious secret arts. He might as well go there and take a look first. The library was huge and there were many books. If Su Zimo browsed through the books one by one, he might not even be able to browse through all the books on the 1st floor in a month, let alone 2 hours. Su Zimo came to the northwest direction of the library and saw a few rows of bookshelves. He casually took out an ancient book, Dust Fall Heavenly Thunder handwritten. He flipped through a few pages, shook his head slightly and put it back. This was a lightning cultivation technique. Su Zimo only read a few pages and judged that the power of this cultivation technique was completely inferior to the Void Thunder manual. Su Zimo took out another book and looked at it roughly. It was the Blazing Sunlight scripture. This cultivation technique was quite overbearing. He had seen Xie Yun use it in the Earth Board ranking battle, but it was broken by Lu Ping. Placing the cultivation technique back to its original spot, Su Zimo continued browsing. Unknowingly, more than an hour had passed. Su Zimo had roughly read dozens of cultivation techniques and secret arts. These cultivation techniques and secret arts were indeed powerful. However, even if he cultivated them, it did not significantly increase his combat strength. In fact, these cultivation techniques and secret arts were considered superior cultivation techniques for any Earth immortal. However, after Su Zimo ascended to the upper world, he cultivated the forbidden secret art, Prajna Nirvana Sutra. He also had cultivation techniques such as the Pentadi Dao Fire, Heaven-Killing Earth-Killing Sword Art, and Supreme Profound Spirit Big Dipper Sutra. That was why he was not interested in the ancient books just now. 2 hours were about to pass. Su Zimo was flipping through a book called Fire Dragon Windfire. If he did not have a better choice, he would choose this cultivation technique. All of a sudden, in the interlayer of that Flame Dragon Windfire, an old and withered piece of paper floated down. Su Zimo frowned slightly and picked up the yellow paper. Spirit Potency Art. There were 3 words written at the top of the yellow paper. Su Zimo skimmed through it briefly. It described a rather unorthodox mystic technique. It was originally created by a pair of Dao companions. If the 2 of them cultivated this cultivation technique at the same time, their minds would be connected and they would be able to work together against the enemy. Su Zimo was not interested in working together against the enemy. However, there was a state described in the Spirit Potency Art that made him fall into deep thought. According to the Spirit Potency Art, if the 2 of them cultivated to the extreme and their minds were connected, they would be able to reach a state of see what I see as long as they circulated the secret art at the same time. In other words, even if the 2 of them were thousands of miles apart, one of them would be able to see the situation on the other side through the eyes of the other. Su Zimo vaguely realized that this secret art might be useful for Qinglian's true body and Wu Dao's true body. However, he could not figure it out at the moment. No matter what, if Qinglian's true body and Wu Dao's true body cultivated the Spirit Potency Art, it would definitely be twice the result with half the effort. The 2 true bodies came from the same source. Although they were independent, their minds were connected. However, until now, the connection between the 2 true bodies was still through telepathy and could not reach the state of see what I see. 2 hours are up. Suddenly, Xie Ling's voice rang out in Su Zimo's mind. Su Zimo had already made up his mind. Gripping the Spirit Potency Art in his hands, he was enveloped by a powerful force in a flash as he arrived outside the library. Xie Ling glanced at the yellow paper in Su Zimo's hands and asked in surprise, "You're going to choose this secret art? What's wrong with this secret art?" Su Zimo asked. "Not really." Xie Ling shook her head. "It's just that this secret art is a little useless. After it was created, no one else apart from the first 2 Dao companions cultivated it. This secret art requires both parties to have a tacit understanding and be unguarded. That alone is something that not many people can achieve. No matter how close 2 people were, as long as there was even the slightest bit of animosity in their hearts, this secret art would be useless." Su Zimo smiled and did not explain. Qinglian's true body and Wu Dao's true body would naturally not have such a problem. Chapter 2259. Xie Ling used his divine sense to copy the art of spirit potency on a jade slip and handed it to Su Zimo. Then he brought Su Zimo to the armory of the Flaming Sun Palace. As the top of the Earth Board, you can choose any weapon in the armory. Xie Ling revealed a meaningful smile and said, "This armory is full of heaven-class magic treasures, and there are even connate heaven-class magic treasures. The time limit is still 2 hours. As for whether you can get it or not, it will depend on your luck and opportunity." Su Zimo nodded and stepped into the armory. The moment he stepped through the door, it was as if he had entered another space. His surroundings were crimson red with raging flames and the temperature was extremely high. At this moment, there were streaks of fire in front of Su Zimo. Su Zimo stretched out his hand and caught one of the streaks of fire. The streaks of fire revealed their true form. It was a flying sword of the highest grade. The quality was already considered good. These streaks of fire were all magic treasures. Su Zimo released his hand and the flying sword turned into a streak of fire, instantly entering the void behind him and disappearing. No wonder Xieling said that to obtain a Khanate heaven-class magic treasure, one needs opportunity and luck. Su Zimo muttered softly. The streaks of fire in front of him were densely packed. It was impossible to detect what kind of magic treasure was in each of the streaks of fire. Su Zimo saw thousands of streaks of fire as far as his eyes could see. He searched through them one by one. Trying to find a Khanate heaven-class magic treasure was completely based on luck. Su Zimo walked forward while grabbing the streaks of fire around him to check the magic treasures inside. High grade, throw it away. High grade, throw it away. Perfect grade. Su Zimo hesitated for a moment, but still threw it away. When he broke through to the Heaven Immortal realm, a perfect grade heaven-class magic treasure would not be able to compare to his 11th grade Qinglian real body. Another streak of fire drifted over. When it was about to reach Su Zimo, it seemed to have sensed something and suddenly changed its trajectory, floating in another direction. Su Zimo's eyes lit up. In a flash, he arrived beside the streak of fire and grabbed it. It was a jade bracelet with fine flames burning on its surface. The flames lingered and it was extremely extraordinary. Khanate grade. Su Zimo was delighted. In less than 15 minutes of time, he'd found a natural grade heaven rank magic treasure. Just as he was about to leave the armory, his heart skipped a beat and he turned to look. His Yuan spirit sensed a familiar aura in a streak of fiery light not too far away. Hesitating for a moment, Su Zimo stepped forward and grabbed hold of the streak of fire. This was a crimson feather fan. The 7 ribs of the fan were crystal clear, and each section of the fan feather was completely red. There wasn't a single trace of other colors on the wings. However, the light of this feather fan was dim, and there were clear cracks on the ribs of the fan, as if it had been severely damaged. The reason why Su Zimo sensed a familiar aura from the feather fan was because the material of the feather fan came from the divine phoenix race. Su Zimo activated it with his spirit consciousness. When the feather fan sensed the power of the dragon phoenix in his essence spirit, it gradually shone with a red light and burned brighter, emitting an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation. That's it. Su Zimo was relieved. That feather fan must have a great background and might be even more powerful than the jade bracelet just now. Since Su Zimo had already made up his mind, he did not linger in the armory and left before the 2-hour limit. So fast. Xieling could not help but reveal a look of surprise when he saw Su Zimo leave the armory in less than 15 minutes. He could not help but shake his head when he saw the scarlet feather fan in Su Zimo's hands. Your Highness, what's the background of that feather fan? Su Zimo noticed Xieling's expression and did not take it to heart as he asked. Xieling replied, that's the 7 Tails Phoenix feather fan. It's made from the feathers and bones of the divine phoenix. It was indeed extremely famous back then and was a pure yang spirit treasure of the 9 tribulations. It said that when this pure yang spirit treasure's power is unleashed to its limits, it can even summon a true divine phoenix. Unfortunately, the 7 Tails Phoenix feather fan was severely damaged in the battle back then. The spirit consciousness within it dissipated and its realm fell. Right now, it can only be considered as an ordinary heaven-grade Dharma treasure. Xieling paused for a moment and shook his head with a look of pity. This is a rare opportunity. You chose it too hastily. Su Zimo smiled. No matter what, this feather fan was a pure yang spirit treasure back then. Even if it was severely damaged, its material is extremely special. At the very least, it won't be weaker than a Khanate heaven-grade Dharma treasure. You're wrong. Xieling shook his head. If you want to unleash the true power of this feather fan, you need the power of the divine phoenix clan to activate it. If other living beings obtained this Dharma treasure, it would be useless. Su Zimo, it's understandable that you don't know much about the Seven Tails Phoenix Feather Fan. How about this? I'll give you another chance. You can enter the armory and choose again. This time, you have to be more careful and cautious. Thank you for your kind intentions, Your Highness. Su Zimo cupped his hands and bowed. There's no need to choose again. I'll choose this feather fan. Seeing that Su Zimo was determined, Xieling didn't try to persuade him anymore. He nodded and said, since that's the case, you can return to the palace to rest. 3 days later, gather at the square of the Flaming Sun Palace. Farewell. Su Zimo took his leave and returned to the Qianquan Academy's palace. To be able to enter the Earth ranking and obtain a great opportunity in the Flaming Sun Palace. In the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom, there was an ancient parasol tree. All the cultivators on the Earth ranking had the opportunity to cultivate under this parasol tree for a period of time. Cultivating under this ancient tree was rich in heaven and earth yuan qi. 1 year of cultivation could be equivalent to 1,000 years of cultivation. Every time a cultivator on the Earth ranking cultivated under the parasol tree, there would be a genius who broke through on the spot and stepped into the Sky Immortal realm. Those who could enter the Earth ranking were all monsters among the Earth Immortals. Almost all of them had reached the peak of level 9 Earth Immortal realm. After going through the baptism of life and death in the 9 Heavens Elimination Tournament and the continuous battles in the ranking battle, the bottleneck of these Earth Immortals had been loosened. They just lacked an opportunity. Cultivating under the parasol tree was this opportunity. Su Zimo naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He was now at the peak of level 8 Earth Immortal realm. If there were no accidents, he would soon break through to level 9 Earth Immortal realm. He wanted to make good use of this opportunity to cultivate under the parasol tree and increase his cultivation as much as possible. He wanted to break through to the Sky Immortal realm in the shortest time possible. Other than these, the rewards for the first place on the Earth ranking included many elemental spiritual stones, some elemental spiritual liquid, and the parasol pill. The parasol pill could make it easier for a level 9 Earth Immortal to break through the bottleneck when breaking through to the Sky Immortal realm. It was an extremely famous spiritual pill in the Divine Cloud continent. Only the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom could make it. Su Zimo returned to the Qianquan Academy's palace and called out to Wu Dao in his heart to teach him the art of spirit potency. This secret skill was not difficult to cultivate. With the talent of Wu Dao and Qinglian's real body, it only took them 3 days to master it. Chapter 2260. Flaming Sun Palace, Imperial Wind Observatory. 3 days had passed and Feng Yin's complexion had changed greatly. His face was ruddy and the hole in his chest had long healed. His physical body's recovery ability was astonishing. A physical body that could cultivate a bloodline phenomenon was naturally not to be underestimated. It was only after encountering Su Zimo's Qinglian true body that Feng Yin was suppressed so badly and suffered the greatest setback since his reincarnation. At that moment, Heaven Immortal Qing Feng walked in from outside. Seeing Feng Yin's ruddy complexion, he nodded slightly. It seems like senior brother Feng Yin is fine now. Feng Yin's eyes were gloomy, as if he had not recovered from his defeat at the top of the Earth ranking. As a reincarnated true immortal, he was defeated in front of countless cultivators. To him, this was an unacceptable humiliation. Don't worry, senior brother. Heaven Immortal Qing Feng said, as far as I know, Su Zimo is in trouble. He most likely won't be able to return to Qianquan Academy alive. Feng Yin's eyes lit up and he asked, what happened? Heaven Immortal Qing Feng said, in front of everyone, Su Zimo spoke rudely to Zither Immortal and even said that he wanted Zither Immortal to accompany him. This is equivalent to courting death. Zither Immortal is very famous in Divine Cloud continent. She has countless followers and admirers. She doesn't even need to appear personally. Naturally, there will be people who will curry favor with her and deal with Su Zimo. After pausing for a while, Heaven Immortal Qing Feng said, as far as I know, a Duke of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom has been admiring Zither Immortal for a long time. What's his cultivation level? Feng asked. Stage 9 Heavenly Immortal. Heaven Immortal Qing Feng replied. What can a Stage 9 Heavenly Immortal Duke do? Feng Yin was a little disappointed as he said, the elders that Cosmos Academy sent this time are all level 9 Heavenly Immortals. Could it be that he can surpass them and kill Su Zimo directly? Green Peak Celestial Immortal smiled and said, this Commandery Prince is not simple. He rules over the Lingxia County of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom and has hundreds of cities under his command. His influence is enormous, and among the many Commandery Princes of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom, he is extremely influential. As for how to deal with Su Zimo, senior brother, don't forget that this is the Flaming Sun Celestial Kingdom, his territory. Hearing this, the light in Kaze's eyes gradually brightened. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, and a trace of expectation flashed across his face. On this day, the 100 Earth Immortals on the Earth Roll gathered in the square again. After 3 days of rest, most of the Earth Immortals had recovered. Xieling stood at the highest point and said in a deep voice, this time, you will be going to a secret area in the Flaming Sun Palace. Even the members of the royal family cannot casually cultivate there. Over the past few days, Su Zimo had gained some understanding of the mystic realm through Princess Qihong. This secret realm was personally set up by the Flaming Sun Immortal King. The core of the secret realm was an ancient parasol tree. It was said that it was even older than the Flaming Sun Immortal King. In the upper realm, there was a powerful realm called the Parasol Tree Realm. In this realm, the most common living creature was the ancient parasol tree. The living creature that ruled this realm was the Godly Phoenix, the Godly Phoenix clan. Therefore, there had always been various rumors in the upper realm that the phoenix would not perch on a parasol tree. The parasol tree was the king of the trees. Birds dared not perch on it, and living creatures were not allowed to enter it. In the heaven realm, there was only one parasol tree in the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom. The space in this secret realm was not big. With the presence of the ancient parasol tree, the chi of heaven and earth in this secret realm was extremely rich. Therefore, there was a legend that 1 year of cultivation in this parasol tree realm was equivalent to 1,000 years of cultivation. Of course, as Xieling had said, even the royal family of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom could not casually cultivate there. The parasol tree realm would only be closed for about 10,000 years, and the chi of heaven and earth would accumulate to a certain level for the cultivators to cultivate. After the cultivators cultivated there for a period of time, the chi of heaven and earth in the parasol tree realm would gradually become thinner, no different from the outside world. There was no need to continue cultivating there. The parasol tree realm would be closed again, and the cycle would repeat. Xieling raised her voice and said, everyone, according to the order of the earth roll, the time you can cultivate in the parasol tree realm is different. The first place of the earth roll can cultivate in the parasol tree realm for 100 days. The second place of the earth roll can cultivate in the parasol tree realm for 99 days, and so on. The last place of the earth roll can only cultivate in the parasol tree realm for 1 day. Even so, the cultivators at the bottom of the earth roll were overjoyed. Although they could only cultivate in the parasol tree realm for 1 day, 1 day was equivalent to decades of cultivation. Your Highness, is there any danger in the parasol tree realm? At this moment, a childish voice sounded from the crowd. Everyone looked over and saw an 8 or 9-year-old child wearing a green shirt. His face was rosy, and there were a few braids on his head that swayed slightly. It was Lu Ping from the Heaven and Earth Academy. The third place of the earth roll this time. Don't worry, I will protect you. Princess Qihong waved her hand and rubbed Lu Ping's head. She spoke as if she was coaxing a child. Everyone chuckled in response. Xieling laughed involuntarily and shook her head. Everyone, you don't have to worry about this. The parasol tree realm is a cultivation mystic realm. There is no danger. However, the power contained in the parasol tree realm is extremely great. The closer you are to the parasol tree realm, the richer the heaven-earth yuan qi. However, this also means that the yuan qi is more violent and difficult to absorb. Everyone, act according to your capabilities. Everyone agreed. Everyone, just hang this token on your waist. Xie Ling waved her hand and 100 tokens accurately landed in front of the many cultivators on the earth board. Each token had a number written on it, which corresponded to the time that each cultivator could cultivate in the Wutong secret realm. Xie Ling said, "Once the time is up, this token will naturally take you out of the Parasol Tree realm." Elder Zhong from the Heaven and Earth Academy looked at Su Zimo and the rest and said with a smile, "Go ahead. We will meet again in 100 days. I hope that all of you will have a breakthrough by then." The rewards of the Earth Roll had been distributed to everyone. For people like Princess Qi Hong and Lu Ping who had reached the peak of level 9 Earth Immortal and could cultivate in the Parasol Tree realm for more than 90 days, as long as they consumed the Parasol Tree realm, they would most likely be able to break through to the Heavenly Origin realm and become Heaven Immortals. Elder He said, "Zimo, you don't have to feel any pressure. You just need to break through to level 9 Earth Immortal." Su Zimo's situation was different. After all, he was only a level 8 Earth Immortal. If he cultivated in the Parasol Tree realm for 100 days, it would not be a problem for him to break through to level 9 Earth Immortal and stabilize his realm. However, it was almost impossible for him to advance further. After all, the time was too short. Everyone followed Xie Ling to the southernmost part of the Flaming Sun Palace and stopped at the foot of a mountain. There was a huge cave at the foot of the mountain. It was pitch black inside. On both sides of the cave, there were 2 Heaven Immortal experts in armor guarding. Xie Ling came to this place and activated her divine sense. She pointed her finger and a few spiritual lights entered the cave not far away. Then, a barrier appeared at the entrance of the cave. It was like a water curtain that rippled. "Everyone, please go in." Xie Ling said, "After the cultivation, there will be palace guards to take you away. Let's part ways here." After saying that, Xie Ling waved her sleeves and left the place. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared from everyone's sight. Bookhouse Reading Website. Chapter 2261. Now that the 10,000-year meeting was over, Xie Ling naturally wouldn't wait here and left. Su Zimo and the others passed through the water screen in front of the cave and entered the Wutong mystic realm as well. At the same time, in the capital of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom, an ordinary carriage drove in slowly. "Your Highness, aren't you going to inform the other dukes of your return to the palace?" The coachman who was driving the carriage looked old with gray hair and a lethargic aura as he asked. Although the coachman did not send a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness, his voice seemed to have formed a line that entered the carriage and did not spread out at all. The surrounding crowd did not hear anything as well. In the carriage sat a graceful young man with a noble aura. Even though he was motionless, he exuded a dignified aura of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. However, the young man's lips were extremely thin and coupled with his aquiline nose, his facial features looked sinister and cold. "There's no need," the young man said indifferently. "I'm only returning to the palace to settle a small matter. There's no need to alarm others." The coachman did not say anything else and drove the ordinary carriage into the crowd gradually. The moment Su Zimo and the others entered the Wutong mystic realm, they felt a heat wave that was unbearable and suffocating. This feeling was similar to the flaming world of the first heaven. However, everyone soon sensed that the surrounding heat wave contained an immense amount of heaven and earth essence chi that far exceeded their imaginations. In the center of the mystic realm, there was a gigantic tree that reached the heavens. The tree trunk was massive and it would require dozens of people to encircle it. Every single leaf was spread open and there was more than enough space to place a palace. "Is this the ancient Wudong tree?" Lu Ping raised his petite face and his eyes were filled with deep shock. Although the leaves of these ancient parasol trees were emerald green, if one were to look closely, they would see that each leaf was burning with fine flames. There were already cultivators who could not wait and found a spot to cultivate. Time was precious and even Su Zimo only had 100 days to cultivate in the Wutong mystic realm. Try to get closer to the ancient Wutong tree. The heaven and earth essence chi will be denser. The Red Rainbow Princess secretly sent a voice transmission to her fellow sect members of Heaven and Earth Academy. Everyone stepped forward and attempted to approach the ancient Wutong tree. As expected, the closer they got to the ancient parasol tree, the denser the chi of heaven and earth became. However, every single wisp of heaven and earth essence chi contained scorching energy that was increasingly terrifying. The bodies and blood chi of many cultivators could not withstand it at all. It didn't take long for everyone to find a suitable spot for themselves. The furthest distance from the parasol tree was more than 1,000 feet. For example, Scarlet Lady Red Rainbow's position was relatively close. She was only about 200 feet away from the parasol tree. She was a fire elemental cultivator, so she was closer to the ancient parasol tree's aura and could withstand it better. Other than Princess Chi Hong, Feng Yin and Lu Ping were the closest to the ancient parasol tree. They were less than 100 feet away. It was not hard to understand why Feng Yin could reach this step. What surprised everyone was that Lu Ping was actually on par with Feng Yin. Lu Ping had inherited the body of the giant willow. His body contained a vast amount of vitality. He was also a plant creature like the parasol tree. That was why he could cultivate in this position. At that moment, a figure passed by Feng Yin and Lu Ping and approached the ancient parasol tree. Su Zimo. Feng Yin looked at the figure with a trace of gloom in his eyes. However, he seemed to have thought of something and scoffed coldly. He ignored Su Zimo and began cultivating. Su Zimo came to the ancient parasol tree and closed his eyes to sense it. The heaven and earth yuan qi here was the densest, hottest and most violent. If it was absorbed into one's body, the destructive power would be shocking. However, it was nothing to Qinglian's true body. Su Zimo leaped and landed gently on a gigantic parasol tree leaf. His body was bathed in flames as he began absorbing the heaven and earth yuan qi, preparing to break through to the level 9 earth immortal realm. A day passed. The cultivators at the bottom of the earth ranking did not manage to break through. Their badges flashed and they left the parasol tree's secret realm regretfully. 2 days passed. 10 days passed. A tremor came from a leaf of the ancient parasol tree. An incomparably powerful aura burst forth and surged into the skies. Su Zimo was still sitting with his legs crossed. However, his cultivation realm had already reached Earth Essence Realm Level 9. At the same time, his primordial spirit had also broken through to the Level 2 Heaven Immortal Realm. In just 10 days, Su Zimo had made a breakthrough. All of this happened naturally and without any hindrance at all. Boom! At this moment, a tremor came from not far away from the ancient parasol tree. Ah! A man stood up and roared into the sky. His black hair danced in the wind and his entire body was filled with a powerful and violent aura. He had already surpassed the Earth Essence Realm. Feng Yin had broken through to the Heaven Essence Realm and became a Heaven Immortal. As a reincarnated true immortal, Feng Yin was indeed extraordinarily powerful. If he had not met Su Zimo, he would not have been defeated so miserably. Although it seemed difficult to reincarnate and cultivate from the beginning, as his cultivation realm increased, he recovered more and more of his memories. As for the bottlenecks in his cultivation, he could easily solve them with the help of his memories from his previous life. In this aspect, Feng Yin had a huge advantage. Among the 100 geniuses of the Earth Roll, Su Zimo was the first to break through. Feng Yin was the first to break through to the Level 9 Earth Immortal and become a Heaven Immortal. After breaking through the barrier, Feng Yin's primordial spirit, qi, blood, and vitality were all upgraded and transformed. The injuries in his body were healed in the blink of an eye. The recovery ability of a Heaven Immortal was much stronger than an Earth Immortal. Feng Yin sneered and walked toward the ancient parasol tree. When he was a Level 9 Earth Immortal, he could only cultivate here. Now that he had become a Heaven Immortal, his endurance was much stronger and he could cultivate on the ancient parasol tree. Feng Yin, what are you doing? When Princess Chi Hong saw this scene, she looked somewhat nervous. She was afraid that Feng Yin would attack Su Zimo in the parasol tree's secret realm after breaking through. Feng Yin sneered and did not say a word. He did not plan to do so. Firstly, even if he became a Heaven Immortal, he was not confident that he could kill Su Zimo, who was a Level 9 Earth Immortal. One should know that Su Zimo was now in his peak condition. Feng Yin was extremely wary of the methods that Su Zimo had displayed in the Earth ranking competition. Unless he was absolutely confident of winning, he would not attack Su Zimo rashly. Moreover, in the Parasol Tree Secret Realm, there was no need for him to do anything. There would be someone to help him kill Su Zimo. Seeing Feng Yin sitting on another leaf of the ancient Parasol Tree without any strange movements, Qi Hong Countess finally felt relieved. On the other hand, Su Zimo looked normal and did not even open his eyes. If Feng Yin dared to attack him, he would not mind killing a second reincarnated true immortal. Time passed. On the 40th day, Lu Ping broke through and became a heaven immortal. On the 48th day, Yu Feng broke through. On the 66th day, Princess Qi Hong broke through. After Su Zimo broke through to a level 9 Earth immortal, his cultivation was still increasing rapidly. However, at this level, it was difficult to break through and improve without thousands of years of accumulation. However, 100 days was too short. Chapter 2262. As time passed by, the number of cultivators in the Wutong mystic realm decreased. On the 100th day, Su Zimo was the only one left in the Wutong mystic realm. He sat on a leaf of a Wutong tree. Everyone from Heaven and Earth Academy waited quietly outside the cave not far away, prepared to leave together with Su Zimo after he exited seclusion. The strange thing was that Feng Yin did not leave immediately as well. Instead, he sat not far away and closed his eyes to rest, waiting for something. Right then, a young man in brocade robes walked over slowly from afar and arrived before the cave before long. Xie Tianhong? When Princess Qi Hong saw that person, she frowned slightly and murmured, "Isn't he guarding Spirit Dawn County? Why has he returned to the palace all of a sudden?" "Greetings, Your Highness Tianhong." The two guards beside the cave bowed towards the young man in brocade robes one after another. Xie Tianhong was expressionless and suddenly, he sent a voice transmission to the two guards with his spirit consciousness. "Activate the Wutong formation." The Wutong formation? The two guards were stunned. There was an extremely terrifying formation in the Wutong mystic realm. Once the formation was activated, it would use the ancient Wutong tree as a foundation to activate the essence fire of the sun, the Grandine fire and the earth core lava to nourish the ancient Wutong tree. In fact, divine phoenixes would even appear. The purpose of the formation was to nurture the ancient Wutong tree. Normally speaking, the ancient Wutong tree was only suitable for survival in the Wutong world. The environment there was extremely cruel for most living beings and they could not survive at all. However, it was the most suitable place for the ancient Wutong tree to grow. It was not easy to create a mystic realm that was suitable for the ancient Wutong tree. That was the reason for the existence of this formation. The entire Wutong mystic realm would turn into a miniature Wutong world. At that time, all living beings in the vicinity of the ancient Wutong tree apart from the divine phoenix and Shunhuang race would be wiped away by the power of the mystic realm. One of the guards had a troubled expression and said instinctively, "Your Highness, there's still a day left. There's still one more." Before he could finish, he noticed Xie Tianhong smirking and his pupils constricting to their limits with a strange black glint. When they noticed the black glint, the eyes of the two guards turned black gradually. "Activate the Wutong Great Formation now." Xie Tianhong's bewitching voice resounded in the minds of the two guards once again. It was as if it was deeply rooted in their minds, and the two of them simply could not reject it. "Big brother Tianhong, why are you here?" Princess Qi Hong sensed that something was amiss. She walked over and asked with a frown. Xie Tianhong turned around and looked at Princess Qi Hong, who was not far away. He said with a smile, "I heard that your performance on the Earth roll was not bad, so I rushed back to take a look." Xie Tianhong spent most of his time guarding the Spirit Dawn County and rarely returned to the palace. Princess Qi Hong did not have a deep impression of him. Although the two of them had the same father, they had different mothers. They rarely interacted with each other, so their relationship wasn't too deep. Princess Qi Hong did not believe a single word that Xie Tianhong said. At this moment, The two guards not far away suddenly activated their divine sense crazily, their hands constantly changing seals, bursting out a burst of primordial chi into the water curtain hanging down from the cave. Activate! Then the two guards shouted softly. Inside the cave, there was a violent noise. The entire mountain was shaking slightly, as if something huge had happened inside. Xie Tianhong's lips curled. The parasol tree formation was activated. Endless sun essence fire, grand Yin fire and earth core lava fused into the mystic realm. Earth immortals could not withstand it at all. If the godly phoenix and godly phoenix appeared, even a level 9 heavenly immortal would be burned to ashes after entering the mystic realm. All the living beings of the foreign races around the ancient parasol tree would have to endure the ferocious attacks of the godly phoenix and godly phoenix. In the parasol tree mystic realm, Su Zimo was focused on cultivating. Suddenly, he sensed something and opened his eyes. The heaven and earth in the mystic realm were undergoing huge changes as strange phenomena appeared. The ground in the secret realm continued to crack as crimson fissures appeared one after another. These fissures seemed random, but when they were connected together, they exuded a mysterious aura. Inside, boiling lava was surging continuously. At the same time, a fire rain fell from the sky. In the parasol tree mystic realm, raging flames were everywhere. The temperature rose rapidly and soon exceeded the limits of Qinglian's true body. The badge on Su Zimo's waist burned rapidly and turned into ashes in the blink of an eye. The skin of Qinglian's true body could not withstand it either. It was charred and cracked. Before blood could flow out, it was evaporated instantly. Formation. Su Zimo's gaze swept across the fissures on the ground and he immediately understood the reason behind it. Someone outside was activating the formation of the parasol tree mystic realm in an attempt to kill him. Screech! Screech! Right at this moment, two clear and resounding cries of phoenixes resounded. Immediately after, endless lava condensed and transformed into a godly phoenix and godly phoenix in midair. They charged towards Su Zimo with an incomparably scorching and tragic aura. The phoenix perches on the parasol tree and the spirits retreat. That thought flashed through Su Zimo's mind. Instantly, he realized where the killing intent of the godly phoenix and godly phoenix was. Su Zimo's expression was fearless as he channeled his essence spirit and released a life force that seemed like it came from an ancient era that surpassed the godly phoenix and Shenhuang. Even the godly phoenix and godly phoenix had to bow in the face of that aura. That was the aura of a taboo dragon phoenix. The moment the godly phoenix and godly phoenix arrived, they stopped in their tracks, hesitating as though they sensed something. The godly phoenix and godly phoenix circled around Su Zimo and danced up and down. Even the godly phoenix and godly phoenix formed by the parasol tree formation had an imprint of the phoenix race from the depths of their souls. In their memories, living beings that could emit such an aura were existences that surpassed them and were supreme. The godly phoenix and godly phoenix were cautious and confused as they circled Su Zimo repeatedly to test him. Although they did not make any further moves, the essence sun fire, grand demon fire and earth core lava surged into the mystic realm continuously as the parasol tree formation was fully activated and the surrounding temperature rose rapidly. Qinglian's true body could no longer withstand it. Even if the godly phoenix and godly phoenix did not make any further attacks, he would still die here. However, at the same time, the essence sun fire, grand demon fire and earth core lava carried with them an unimaginably rich heaven-earth essence chi. When all that essence chi surged into Su Zimo's body, Qinglian's true body was almost about to explode. Although Qinglian's true body had strong regeneration capabilities, it could not withstand such a vast amount of power. Right then, a thought flashed through Su Zimo's mind. Suddenly, he took out the piece of Sui Mu he obtained from the 9 heavens and absorbed it furiously. Under normal circumstances, Qinglian's true body would need at least dozens of years to absorb and refine that piece of Sui Mu. But now, under the stimulation of external forces, Qinglian's true body had to absorb the power within the Sui Mu furiously to replenish its depleted energy to withstand the high temperatures in the mystic realm. The life force within the Sui Mu was depleting at a speed visible to the naked eye. In fact, the process of Qinglian's true body absorbing the Sui Mu was already somewhat savage and terrifying. Not only was it absorbing the Sui Mu, even the life force within the parasol tree could not be avoided. Chapter 2263. Deep within the flaming sun palace, outside the secret realm. Parasol tree formation. Princess Qi Hong exclaimed in shock when she sensed the energy ripples coming from the entrance of the cave. What's wrong? Lu Ping and the rest ran over as well, looking bewildered. What are you guys doing? At this moment, Xie Tianhong's expression turned cold. His eyes were filled with intense killing intent as he looked at the two guards nearby and shouted sternly. The black light in the eyes of the two guards dissipated. Suddenly, they shuddered and woke up. The two of them sensed the energy ripples coming from the parasol tree's secret realm and their faces turned pale. They finally realized what had happened. However, the parasol tree formation had been activated and the two of them were unable to deactivate it. One of the guards looked at Xie Tianhong as though he wanted to explain something. Xie Tianhong interrupted him and said coldly, "The two of you have evil intentions and activated the parasol tree formation prematurely. You have committed a grave mistake." Before he finished his sentence, Xie Tianhong suddenly struck. His slender fingers brushed across the foreheads of the two guards. A thin cut appeared on the foreheads of the two guards. Gradually, a trace of blood seeped out and grew larger. Finally, the foreheads of the two guards slid down neatly. Xie Tianhong had sliced their heads into two. Their essence spirits did not even have the chance to escape and they died on the spot. The two guards were also level 9 heavenly immortals. They had not expected Xie Tianhong to be so ruthless against them. "If I don't kill the two of you, how can the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom answer to Qiankuan Academy?" Xie Tianhong looked at the two corpses and said coldly. This unforeseen event happened extremely suddenly. Even Princess Qi Hong and company were stunned for a moment. However, Princess Qi Hong reacted quickly. She took a deep look at Xie Tianhong and sped towards the palace. She said, "I'll look for the others. Lu Ping, hurry and inform Elder Zhong and the rest to come over." The sudden activation of the parasol tree formation was indeed done by the two guards. However, Princess Qi Hong was not a fool. She could tell that there was something fishy going on. Xie Tianhong's appearance was too coincidental. The moment he appeared, the two guards activated the parasol tree formation. After that, Xie Tianhong killed the two of them on the spot. Rather than saying that he was giving Heaven and Earth Academy an explanation, it was better to say that he was silencing them. Xie Tianhong had an indifferent expression as the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. He did not stop Princess Qi Hong and company from leaving. Even if someone came over and closed the Wutong Grand Array, Su Zimo would have already been reduced to ashes. Actually, he had many ways to kill Su Zimo in the territory of the Flaming Sun Immortal Empire. However, Su Zimo was the top ranker of the Earth rankings after all. If they killed him openly, it would draw the hostility of the Qiankuan Academy. On the other hand, they would also be criticized by everyone. If he were to kill them quietly, it would be difficult for him to show off his skills. It would also be difficult for him to show off in front of Fairy Meng Yao. And now, he had used a secret technique to kill Su Zimo in the Wutong Mystery Realm with the help of the two guards. Even if someone saw through it, there was no evidence and they could do nothing to him. However, anyone who was observant would be able to tell that this was his doing. This was the effect that Xie Tianhong wanted to achieve. When the time came, there would be many explanations for Su Zimo's death. He just needed to get people to spread the news and it would not affect the Flaming Sun Immortal Empire in any way. On the other side, Feng Yin, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly sent a message to the cultivator behind him with his spiritual consciousness. Su Zimo activated the Wutong Grand Array and has died in the Wutong Mystery Realm. Spread the news and let the various forces come and take a look. Alright. The cultivator from the Imperial Wind Monastery responded and turned to leave. The top ranker of the Earth rankings? Feng Yin had a mocking expression as he muttered to himself, Su Zimo, you have become the shortest life of the top ranker of the Earth rankings. You are the biggest joke. Wutong Grand Array. When Xie Qingqing heard Princess Qihong's words, her expression changed. She quickly took out a message talisman from her storage bag and tore it into pieces. If we want to close the Wutong Grand Array, I'm afraid we will need a perfected immortal. Xie Qingqing said and sped towards the direction of the Wutong Mystery Realm with Princess Qihong. Not long after, the two of them arrived at the place. In just a short while, many cultivators had gathered outside the Wutong Mystery Realm. There were people from the Zixien Immortal Kingdom, the Mountain Sea Immortal Sect, and other major forces. It was a big deal that the top ranker of the Earth rankings had died in the Wutong Mystery Realm. These cultivators had not left yet and they hurried over to join in the fun. I heard that Su Zimo is dead? It is said that the Wutong Grand Array was activated. Even heaven immortals cannot survive under this Grand Array. He just became the top ranker of the Earth rankings. I didn't expect him to encounter such a calamity. Many cultivators had different expressions as they discussed softly. When Xie Qingqing and Princess Qihong arrived, they pushed through the crowd and came to the front. Xie Qingqing looked at the two guards who had died tragically. She then looked at Xie Tianhong and asked in a deep voice, "What happened?" I don't know why, but the two of them suddenly went crazy and activated the Wutong Grand Array. I couldn't stop them in time. Xie Tianhong did not even look at Xie Qingqing. His tone was indifferent as though he was talking about something insignificant. Suddenly went crazy? Xie Qingqing was still staring at Xie Tianhong's face. She lowered her voice and said slowly, "Based on what I know, your bewitching spirit technique has already been cultivated to the peak." Xie Tianhong still did not look at Xie Qingqing and merely asked, "What are you trying to say?" "Tianhong, why did you suddenly return to the palace? Furthermore, why did you do it so secretly without informing anyone?" Xie Qingqing asked again. Xie Tianhong raised his brow slightly. "Do I have to report my return to the palace to you, Xie Qingqing?" Xie Qingqing took a deep breath and did not get angry. Instead, she continued asking, "Isn't it too much of a coincidence that you suddenly appeared after returning to the palace and activated the Wutong Grand Array? Are you suspecting me?" Finally, Xie Tianhong turned around and looked at Xie Qingqing's beautiful face with a cold gaze. His tone was sinister. "I wouldn't dare." Even though she said that, Xie Qingqing did not avoid his gaze and insisted, "I merely wish to seek an explanation from Brother Tianhong." Xie Tianhong's expression darkened as he chided, "Xie Qingqing, watch your tone. Think about your background and who you are talking to. You are just an idle county king. How dare you question me and ask me to explain?" The Flaming Sun Immortal King had many children. Although they were all county kings and princesses, their statuses were vastly different. For example, Xie Tianhong presided over Spirit Dawn County and ruled over thousands of miles of territory. He had a high status and authority, but Xie Qingqing only had the title of a county king. The words "your background" that Xie Tianhong mentioned stabbed at the wound deep in Xie Qingqing's heart. Xie Qingqing subconsciously clenched her fists as she lowered her gaze. Her seemingly calm face hid immense anger and hatred. Princess Qihong seemed to have thought of something. She reached out her hand and gently held Xie Qingqing's fist, giving her a trace of warmth. Chapter 2264. At the Wutong Secret Realm. Su Zimo sat cross-legged on the ancient Wutong tree. Divine phoenixes and divine phoenixes circled around him. The heaven and earth yuan qi in his body surged and his aura rose rapidly. Originally, he could only reach the middle stage of level 9 earth deity in 100 days. Just now, the Wutong Grand Formation was activated. Endless heaven and earth yuan qi poured into the secret realm and was absorbed by Qinglian's real body. In addition, the ancient Wutong tree and ancient Wutong tree's energy and life essence were all absorbed by Su Zimo. His cultivation had reached the pinnacle of level 9 earth deity in a short period of time. He was only one step away from becoming a heaven deity. Because of the Wutong Grand Formation's support, the ancient Wutong tree had been completely refined by Su Zimo. The ancient Wutong tree had been robbed of a large amount of life essence, and it looked a little dispirited. Of course, the ancient Wutong tree had been around for a long time and its life force was immeasurable. It would not wither just like that. In Su Zimo's Sea of Consciousness, the lotus seat of creation was rotating slowly. It was transforming every second, and it was emitting thousands of rays of light and auspicious colors. The energy in Qinglian's real body had been accumulated to the limit. It could not absorb any more heaven and earth yuan qi. Everything was ready. The only thing missing was an opportunity. Su Zimo took out the Wutong elixir from his storage pouch and swallowed it. The Wutong elixir was made from the leaves and fruits of the Wutong tree. It was made with many immortal herbs and spiritual wood. It could greatly reduce the obstacles that an earth deity would face when breaking through to the heaven deity level. The elixir exploded as soon as it entered his stomach. It turned into a hot current that flowed through his limbs and bones. A large amount of energy surged into his blood and into his spiritual altar, nourishing his primordial spirit. Su Zimo could clearly feel the barrier to the heaven origin stage. It was close at hand, but he could not touch it. After all, it was a huge leap from the earth origin stage to the heaven origin stage. In just 100 days, Su Zimo had broken through from level 8 earth deity to the heaven origin stage. This was simply unimaginable. The difficulty level was multiplied. He just needed a little more help to break through the barrier. At this moment, the cauldron suppressing hell cauldron in his sea of consciousness trembled. The last cauldron wall had been repaired. The cauldron exuded an ancient aura. It was as if it had come from the river of time and had experienced the vicissitudes of life. The cracks on the prison-suppressing cauldron were all repaired. Su Zimo could clearly feel that the prison-suppressing cauldron was different from before, but he couldn't pinpoint exactly what was different. Suddenly, the white tiger saint's soul on the fourth cauldron wall opened its eyes and exuded a bone-chilling killing intent that was not inferior to the heavenly slaughter sword art and earthly slaughter sword art. A portion of inherited memories flowed into Su Zimo's mind. At the same time, golden Sanskrit characters appeared on the fourth wall of the cauldron, perfectly connecting with the Sanskrit characters on the other 3 walls. The restoration of the prison-suppressing cauldron meant that the complete Prajna Nirvana Sutra had reappeared in the world. The golden Sanskrit characters on the 4 walls of the hell-suppressing cauldron seemed to fall off from the surface and appeared in Su Zimo's Sea of Consciousness. Su Zimo's Sea of Consciousness shone with a resplendent golden light, resembling a sacred temple of the Buddhist sections. Sanskrit chants reverberated endlessly in his ears, and he could vaguely see the illusory figures of Buddhas and the roars of dragons and elephants. Endless mighty power of the Buddhist sects surged through his entire sea of consciousness. Su Zimo was unable to comprehend the sutras on the 4th wall of the cauldron within a short period of time. However, the perfection of Nirvana Sutra was a forbidden secret sutra after all. After it was restored, the golden light from the Sanskrit chants surged into Qinglian's essence spirit, causing a change to occur in her true body and the creation lotus platform. Qinglian's true body sat upright on the creation lotus platform, shrouded in a layer of Buddhist light. She held the trigem jade scepter in her hands and had a solemn expression with her brows lowered. Boom! It was as though a shackle had been broken within Su Zimo's body. He could clearly sense that the upper limit of his lifespan had increased to 300,000 years. He had broken through. Su Zimo took a deep breath. The endless heaven and earth essence qi in the Wutong mystic realm surged into his mouth and nose, surging and rumbling within Qinglian's true body. With the mighty power nurtured by the forbidden secret sutra, the perfection of Nirvana Sutra, Su Zimo finally broke through the barrier of the heaven immortal realm and stepped into the heaven's essence realm, becoming a level 1 heaven immortal. At the same time, Qinglian's essence spirit was baptized by the Sanskrit chants and nourished by the creation lotus platform. Her cultivation realm broke through once more, reaching level 3 of the heaven's essence realm. The transformation of Su Zimo's body had yet to end. Qinglian's true body had absorbed a large amount of energy from the Sui tree and the ancient Wutong tree. Coupled with the breakthrough of Su Zimo's cultivation realm and the breakthrough of her essence spirit, Qinglian's true body was undergoing a tremendous change as well. In her sea of consciousness, all the lotus petals on the creation lotus platform fell off and grew out again. Round after round, they were emerald green. After the 10th round of lotus petals, the 11th round of lotus petals grew out and bloomed quietly, revealing a flower bud that exuded boundless vitality. It was a lotus platform that was full of vitality. There were as many as 99 lotus holes on the lotus platform. The creation lotus platform was also undergoing a transformation. Qinglian's true body was also breaking through and being reborn. Level 11 Qinglian creation lotus platform. The blood in Su Zimo's body was surging. Every inch of his skin was glowing with emerald green light. His entire body was emitting a faint fragrance and boundless vitality. Even the ancient wutong tree that he was sitting on showed a tinge of fear. It did not dare to move as it was afraid that it would disturb Su Zimo. This opportunity was too important to Su Zimo. If it were not for the 10,000 years meeting and the Earth Board, it would have taken him at least 1,000 years to break through to the Heaven's Essence realm. Now, in just 100 days, he had advanced from level 8 Earth Immortal to level 1 of the Heaven's Essence realm. Even Yun Ting could not match up to this speed of improvement. Of course, this kind of opportunity was hard to replicate. It was something that could only be found and not sought. Without any link in between, it would not have been possible to achieve such an effect. If the formation in the Wutong secret realm had not been activated suddenly and forced Su Zimo to refine the time wood and steal the ancient Wutong tree, he could only return to Qiankuan Academy and continue his seclusion to break through. Su Zimo's breakthrough to the Heaven's Essence realm did not only increase his cultivation realm. Qinglian's true body had also advanced by a realm and her combat strength had increased tremendously. This was a complete rebirth from the inside out. Right now, Su Zimo was a level 11 creation Qinglian in human form. At this moment, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Normally, after the green lotus of creation reached grade 9, there would be a huge change every time it leveled up, giving birth to a treasure. The first 2 times were the living soil of 9 heavens and the tri-precious jade rui. Su Zimo's 2 treasures were extremely powerful and mysterious. He wondered how Qinglian's true body would change this time. At this moment, Su Zimo suddenly realized that on the lotus platform of fate, Qinglian's primordial spirit was holding something in her hands. It was a horsetail whisk. The handle was emerald green and the whisk was snow white. It was spotless. Qinglian's true body held the Sanyu jade rui in her left hand and the horsetail whisk in her right hand. She was shrouded in multicolored light and looked extraordinary like a deity. Chapter 2265. In the depths of the Flaming Sun Royal Palace, outside the Wutong secret realm, more and more cultivators gathered. Through Feng Yin's mouth, the incident in the Wutong secret realm quickly spread throughout the royal palace, attracting countless cultivators. Other than the major sects and forces, even the other princes and princesses of the Flaming Sun Royal Palace came to watch the show. What's going on? I heard that the Wutong Grand Array was activated and that Su Zimo died inside? Yes, it must be Tianhong's doing. Otherwise, why would he appear here? Why? Xie Qingqing still dares to quarrel with Tianhong? Is she courting death? 3 princes of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom were secretly communicating with their spiritual consciousness. What's going on? The elders of the Qiankuan Academy finally arrived. They pushed through the crowd and rushed to the front. Fellow cultivators, my condolences. Xie Tianhong pretended to be sad and cupped his fists. I don't know why, but the 2 of them suddenly went crazy and activated a grand array in the secret realm. When I took action, it was already too late. Why did the 2 of them suddenly go crazy and activate the grand array? The elders of the Qiankuan Academy frowned. Although they weren't at the scene, their intuition and experience told them that there was something fishy going on. It wasn't as simple as Xie Tianhong said. Princess Qihong looked at Xie Tianhong with an unfriendly expression and clenched her fists. The elders of the Qiankuan Academy sensed the abnormality and turned to look at Xie Tianhong. Xie Tianhong looked calm and fearless. He looked at the elders of the Qiankuan Academy with a faint smile on his face. Princess Qi Hong, Princess Qingqing, what's going on? Elder Zhong looked at Xie Qingqing and Princess Qi Hong and asked in a deep voice. Xie Qingqing had a complicated expression. She opened her mouth slightly and stopped talking. In the royal family of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom, she was far inferior to Xie Tianhong in terms of status and cultivation realm. Most importantly, she had no evidence to prove it. Without any evidence, how could she accuse a prince who ruled over a territory? Could she only rely on her guess and suspicion? If she stood out now, she would most likely be implicated and become the target of public criticism. I suspect that it's Xie Tianhong's doing. Xie Qingqing was silent for a long time. Then she suddenly spoke, shocking the heavens. This was a public accusation against the county king, who ruled over a territory, in front of everyone. Moreover, it was a falling out between the royal family of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom. More importantly, the one who had died inside was Su Zimo, the top ranker of the Earth ranking. This was related to the Qiankuan Academy. If this matter wasn't handled properly, it was very likely that a rift would appear between the two great powers. Xie Tianhong's expression turned cold as he said in an unfriendly tone, Xie Qingqing, how dare you slander me? Xie Qingqing is just a lowly child of a servant. Big brother Tianhong, you don't have to lower yourself to his level. Not far away, another duke walked over slowly with a mocking expression. Not bad. Another duke also stood out and said, Xie Qingqing, even if imperial father's noble blood flows in your veins, you can't escape the lowly and sinister nature of a servant. Do you think that by framing Big Brother Tianhong, you have the right to be promoted? You're still far from it. Before Xie Tianhong could explain, the other dukes of the Flaming Sun Immortal Empire stood out and spoke up for him. Xie Qingqing was expressionless and his face was a little pale. Although he was a duke of the Flaming Sun Immortal Empire and had a noble status in the eyes of others. However, in the eyes of the royal family of the Flaming Sun Immortal Empire, his birth was always extremely unbearable. His mother came from the lower realm and even died without knowing the reason. These things had always been buried in the depths of his heart and were the deepest scars in his heart. Now, these scars had been reopened by someone else. At this moment, a beam of light sped over from afar. Its speed was astonishing and its aura was powerful. In the blink of an eye, it arrived here. True immortal Xie Ling. He had received Xie Qingqing's message talisman and rushed over immediately. He never would have thought that such an accident would happen in the last 100 days. What's going on? Xie Ling asked. Xie Tianhong repeated what he had said just now without changing a single word. Xie Ling stared at Xie Tianhong without blinking. He was ranked second among the children of the Flaming Sun Immortal King. He was older than many of the dukes and princesses present and knew their temperament and behavior like the back of his hand. He could naturally see that this matter was not as simple as Xie Tianhong had said. Moreover, when he thought of Xie Tianhong's admiration for the Zither Immortal, it was very likely that Xie Tianhong was behind this. Xie Ling remained silent. These speculations ran through his mind, but he did not say them out loud. For the sake of the big picture, there was indeed no need to expose this matter and become a topic of ridicule. Your Highness Xie Ling, please hurry up and deactivate the Wutong Grand Formation. Elder Zhong hurriedly said when he saw Xie Ling appear. Xie Ling sighed softly and said apologetically, the Wutong Grand Formation has been activated for a few hours. Everyone, please be mentally prepared. Even if Su Zimo is dead, we must see his corpse. Elder, he said angrily. Xie Tianhong shrugged and said indifferently, the Grand Formation has been activated for an hour. Even a Stage 9 Heavenly Immortal would have turned into ashes. I'm afraid you will be disappointed when you enter. Xie Tianhong's tone was not apologetic at all. Instead, there was a hint of pride in it. Turned into ashes and not even a corpse was left. The eyes of the people from Qiankuan Academy dimmed. They were shocked and angry. Your Highness Xie Ling, The Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom must give us an explanation for this matter. Elder Zhong said in a low voice, trying to suppress the anger in his heart. 2 Stage 9 heavenly immortals were buried with him. Isn't that enough? Without waiting for Xie Ling to speak, Xie Tianhong asked. Just now, he had killed 2 guards. Their cultivation levels were not ordinary. They were both Stage 9 heavenly immortals. How can this be compared? Elder Zhong said loudly and angrily when he saw Xie Tianhong's nonchalant attitude. Xie Tianhong smiled and said faintly, I have already killed the culprit on the spot. What else do you want from me? The few elders of Qiankuan Academy were furious, but they had nowhere to vent it. Did they really want Xie Tianhong to be buried with them? Not to mention that they did not have any evidence. Even if they had evidence, this was the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom. It was impossible for such a thing to happen. Su Zimo just became the first on the Earth ranking and helped Qiankuan Academy to become famous in the Divine Cloud continent. I didn't expect him to encounter such a disaster. He only has himself to blame. He offended so many experts. It's already good that he's still alive. Many cultivators whispered. Some felt sorry for him, and some were gloating. So what if you became the first on the Earth ranking? What's the use of dying so quickly? The resentment in Feng Yin's heart was swept away as he smiled inwardly. Xie Ling sighed and said, I'd better close the Wutong Grand Formation first. Let's go in and take a look. Perhaps Su Zimo is blessed by the heavens. Xie Ling did not finish his words. He knew that he was just comforting Xie Tianhong. Xie Tianhong chuckled at the side and shook his head. It would be a miracle if Su Zimo is still alive. Chapter 2266. Xie Ling released a massive spirit consciousness and a faint halo appeared behind her head. She gathered true essence in her hands and conjured hand seals repeatedly, sending them into the Wutong secret realm. The energy fluctuation in the cave calmed down before long. Everyone follow me. Xie Ling looked apologetic and sighed gently before leading the way into the Wutong secret realm. Everyone from Heaven and Earth Academy rushed in hurriedly as well. Xie Tianhong, Feng Yin and the other cultivators could not hold back their curiosity and entered in a single file. When everyone entered the Wutong secret realm, they were all dumbfounded on the spot. A green-robed cultivator sat upright on a gigantic leaf on the gigantic ancient Wutong tree. His features were refined and the Heaven and Earth essence qi within his body surged with a powerful aura. He's not dead? How is that possible? What the hell? Xie Tianhong froze for a moment and disbelief flashed through his eyes. Thereafter, it was followed by shock, suspicion and coldness as his expression darkened gradually. Feng Yin's expression turned terrible as well. Haha. When everyone from Heaven and Earth Academy saw that, they burst into laughter with delighted expressions. Xie Ling heaved a sigh of relief. It was best that Su Zimo was safe and sound. Otherwise, who knew how much more trouble he would cause? Even the Wutong formation failed to kill Su Zimo. He's way too lucky. Just now, didn't Xie Tianhong say that even a level 9 heavenly immortal would be burned to ashes when the Wutong formation is activated? How? Many cultivators looked at Xie Tianhong with a strange look in their eyes. Xie Qingqing heaved a sigh of relief and was relieved. Princess Qi Hong smiled as well. Junior brother Su, it's great that you're fine. Right then, Su Zimo opened his eyes slowly and swept his gaze across everyone's faces, pausing briefly on Xie Tianhong and Feng Yin. Everyone present had different expressions. Some were delighted, some were shocked and some were confused. However, those two were the only ones who looked extremely indignant. In a flash, Su Zimo descended from the ancient Wudong tree and walked over slowly. You. Right then, Xie Ling's spirit consciousness circled Su Zimo and her pupils constricted with a look of disbelief. You've broken through to the heavenly immortal realm? Xie Ling's words caused a huge commotion in the crowd. Many cultivators released their spirit consciousnesses and scanned Su Zimo's body. It was as expected. That's impossible. Before Su Zimo entered the Wutong secret realm, he was clearly a level 8 Earth immortal. In just a short 100 days of cultivation, he managed to break through 2 realms, and Feng Yin frowned and couldn't help but say, although he was a reincarnated true immortal, he had never seen such a cultivation speed. What kind of talent did he have to be able to reach this step? To rise 2 realms in 100 days? I'm afraid this is unprecedented. To everyone, this was even more shocking than Su Zimo being safe and sound in the parasol tree formation. This was beyond common sense and everyone's understanding. Not only the cultivators present, but even Xie Ling pondered for a long time before gradually accepting this fact. Zimo, what's going on? How did you? Elder Zhong could not help but ask. Su Zimo smiled and said, originally, I would not be able to break through to the heaven immortal realm in 100 days. However, not long ago, a large formation in this secret realm was suddenly activated, and coincidentally, it helped me. I wonder which fellow Taoist is so righteous. Su Zimo looked at Xie Tianhong and asked with a faint smile. After all, Feng Yin was a cultivator of the Imperial Wind Monastery. In the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom, he most likely did not have such power. As for the unfamiliar man in the brocade robe, he seemed to have a noble status. Although he hid it well, Su Zimo's spirit perception could sense a faint trace of hostility from him. I don't know why, but the 2 guards guarding this place suddenly activated the formation and were killed by Tianhong. The perfected immortal Xie Ling explained at the side. Since Su Zimo was safe and sound, he did not want this matter to escalate. Therefore, he blamed everything on the 2 dead men. Oh! Su Zimo chuckled with a mocking expression. He looked at Xie Tianhong and said leisurely, in that case, I'll have to thank your highness for your help. Everyone could hear the sarcasm in Su Zimo's tone. Xie Tianhong knew that there was no way he could hide this matter. His gaze was cold and his tone was sinister, not concealing his killing intent at all. You're welcome. If there's a chance in the future, we'll meet again. Su Zimo smiled as well. If there's a chance to meet again, I'll give you a huge gift. Although both of them were smiling, there was a chilling killing intent hidden beneath every single sentence. Many cultivators shuddered when they heard that. Su Zimo had just advanced to the heaven immortal realm, and yet, he dared to threaten Xie Tianhong. The boldness of the top of the earth ranking was indeed far superior to others. Sure, Xie Tianhong had a high status and was a level 9 heaven immortal. Naturally, he did not take Su Zimo's threat seriously and sneered fearlessly. I'll be waiting. With that said, Xie Tianhong turned and left without any intention of lingering. Since the Wutong formation failed to kill Su Zimo, he would only be humiliating himself if he stayed. With the perfected immortal Xie Ling and many cultivators of Qianquan Academy around, there was no way he could kill Su Zimo openly. However, this failure made Xie Tianhong even more determined to find an opportunity to kill Su Zimo in the future. Let's go as well. Everyone dispersed as well. In the blink of an eye, Xie Ling was the only one left in the Wutong mystic realm. He looked at the ancient Wutong tree and frowned slightly. He could clearly sense that the ancient Wutong tree had lost a lot of its life essence and a few of its leaves were turning yellow. Thankfully, I returned in time. Otherwise, the ancient Wutong tree might not have survived. Xie Ling was secretly speechless. Su Zimo and the other cultivators rested for a while in the palace. After bidding farewell to Xie Qingqing and the others, they prepared to leave the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom and return to Qianquan Academy. This time, Su Zimo had gained a lot. After returning to Qianquan Academy, he immediately went into seclusion to digest and absorb as much as possible. This time, he had obtained a lot of cultivation resources as the first on the Earth roll. Together with the divine dragon pill he had obtained on the Dragon Abyss planet, it was enough for him to cultivate in seclusion. The prison-suppressing cauldron had been completely repaired and the forbidden manual, Prajna Nirvana Sutra, was also complete. At the end of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra, there were 2 seals that were extremely profound. With his current cultivation level, he could not understand them at all. However, on the 4th wall of the cauldron, after the awakening of the White Tiger Saint's soul, He could cultivate the secret technique that was passed down to him at any time. There was also the third treasure derived from the 11th grade Qinglian, the Tai horsetail whisk. This horsetail whisk was extremely powerful and could be both hard and soft. Compared to the 9 heaven living soil and the Sanyu Rui, it was more suitable as an offensive Dharma treasure. In the Wutong mystic realm, there were raging flames and divine phoenixes. Su Zimo even refined the 7-tailed phoenix feather fan. After absorbing a large amount of energy, the cracks on the 7-tailed phoenix feather fan had completely healed. Although this Dharma treasure had not recovered to the level of a pure yang spiritual treasure, it was already a top-grade heaven-grade Dharma treasure. However, using the teleportation array, they could return in about 10 breaths. Everyone shuttled through the space tunnel. Even though they were stage 9 celestial immortals, they had already lost their 5 senses and could not sense the passage of time. Suddenly, everyone from Heaven and Earth Academy shuddered and their 5 senses recovered. We've returned to Heaven and Earth Academy? Something doesn't seem right. Where is this? Everyone looked around but could only see darkness. It was as though they were still in the space tunnel and had not left. Something went wrong during the teleportation process? Elder Zhong frowned and murmured softly. Could the teleportation array have been destroyed? Su Zimo asked. Elder Zhong shook his head. Under normal circumstances, the teleportation array had been successfully activated and everyone had entered the space tunnel. Even if someone destroyed the teleportation array of the Flaming Sun Royal City, it wouldn't affect them. Suddenly, a huge pressure enveloped them. The pressure was so terrifying that it was unimaginable. Under this pressure, everyone did not have any thoughts of resisting and could not move at all. The difference was too great. Everyone from Heaven and Earth Academy was gathered together. Compared to this huge pressure, they were like ants. Immediately after, killing intent attacked. Everyone from Heaven and Earth Academy, including Su Zimo, felt an intense aura of death. It was as though they would die on the spot in the next moment. How could this be? Is it a perfected immortal? Some of the cultivators in Chenkuan Academy were terrified and their voices were trembling. Su Zimo's expression was solemn and he did not say a word. He had personally experienced such a powerful pressure and such a terrifying aura when he ascended to the upper world. Even now, the memory was still fresh in his mind. This pressure was definitely not a perfected immortal. The elders of Heaven and Earth Academy turned pale. Elder Zhong's heart sank and he shook his head. An expert who can emit such pressure has probably surpassed the perfected immortal realm. That meant everyone widened their eyes in shock. Could it be an immortal king? At the thought of this, everyone's eyes revealed a hint of despair. At the same time, many cultivators also understood that only an immortal king had such means to block them from the spatial tunnel. However, no one could understand why an immortal king would attack them. Among them, the highest cultivation base was only a stage 9 heaven immortal. They had no chance to come into contact with an immortal king, so why would an immortal king appear? Moreover, they were from Heaven and Earth Academy. Which immortal king would attack them? Senior, please be merciful. Elder Zhong tried his best to remain calm. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "We are from Heaven and Earth Academy." Is there a misunderstanding? No one responded, but that terrifying pressure still enveloped everyone's heads. Moreover, the killing intent was getting stronger and stronger. Everyone even felt that they would die here at any moment. Su Zimo's expression was cold as he narrowed his eyes slightly. He had a feeling in his heart that this expert hiding in the dark was most likely here for him. However, he could not determine where this expert came from. It was unlikely that it was King Yunyu. With King Yunyu's temperament, he would definitely not hide. He would most likely show himself directly. If it was not King Yunyu, who could it be? Could it be Zither Immortal Meng Yao who invited the Immortal King? Or could it be Duke Yuanzhua, the Immortal King from the Dajin Celestial Nation? Or could it be the Flaming Sun Celestial Nation? Su Zimo had once seized 5 types of treasures in the 9th heaven and absorbed a large amount of life essence from the ancient parasol tree in the secret realm of Wudong. He had fallen out with Xie Tianhong. It was not impossible that the Flaming Sun celestial nation wanted to kill him. However, no matter what, if an immortal king wanted to kill him, even if he summoned all 4 saint souls from the prison-suppressing cauldron, he would not be able to resist. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.